Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor, formed a band, and traveled the Vortex, and landed at episode number 168. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
And I can't play the spoons.
Valiant effort.
These are the spoons that Sylvester McCoy played.
Can I touch them? Oh.
Are they still warm?
I touched the spoons that Sylvester McCoy
They're still warm.
Oh, that might have been for me.
You guys have issues.
Touch the spoon smell.
Touch the spoons
Yeah,
now.
I
Oh, yay. No,
You're not going
touch
to wash these, are you?
I haven't decided.
He's going to eat off them without washing them.
Lick them.
I don't know. Those were on Vader's head.
That's what I was going with. It's like, you don't want to eat those. That's Darth Vader's helmet.
Those have had germs of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying
Some
about
little
wash
kid's
those
head.
spoons, would you?
No, don't wash them. Just put them in a case or something.
There you go.
I told him, I said I should have got my spoons signed and then mounted them, like crossed on the wall and put Sylvester's, just like his picture or something under them and then signed the spoons. Sylvester on one, McCoy on the other.
With a
Awesome.
picture of
that
him
would
holding
be.
his umbrella up, pointing to the spoons. That'd been
That's
awesome.
what we should do. We should develop family crests for each doctor. And McCoy's can be a question mark umbrella with spoons.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm Keith. We never
did
made
that.
it around the run.
We
We
did
didn't make it around, did we?
We did.
Yeah.
Oh.
We did it.
We haven't introduced Mel. Mel's
No, that's why I got thrown off. We skipped over Mel.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
How are you guys?
here. Say hi, Mel.
Say hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Guess what we did this week?
Did you do anything fun this week?
I didn't, I technically started my vacation on Friday. So
Yeah.
Friday we went late because the NCAA tournament, or Big 12 tournament, I guess it is. NCAA tournament's in a week or two. And didn't get out there till 11:25, I think it was. But I'm on vacation this week, so I'm ecstatic. Which I love going to these things. I love going to cons on the weekends, but sometimes they just suck your whole weekend. They're
Oh, yeah.
gone.
I feel like I need another
You
weekend.
have a blast, but you just don't have any time to yourself to do the things you want to do around town.
No, they don't
around town, around
sometimes
home.
suck your weekend. They
Well,
do suck
and
your weekend.
so it was really nice doing everything this weekend, knowing that I'm off all next week too. So, and the kids will be home, and we'll have lots of fun. But I'll talk about that next week.
We had a good turnout for Folks with Friends
Yeah, we
on
did
Thursday night.
We did Beneath the
said
Planet
we
of the
missed
Planet of the
it.
Apes.
Blew a lot of minds.
Yeah.
No spoilers?
Some not appropriate to say.
No.
I wanted to watch it that night right after we watched the first one, but it was like, okay, better not. It's midnight. I better go to bed.
Well, our weekend meteorologist,
Did
Kyle,
he work
he-
yesterday? Or Friday and talk to you at all about it?
no, he wasn't there.
Okay.
He had never seen it before, and he caught up. He watched Planet of the Apes
The
a
night
few days
before.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
and watched it, and he was thoroughly surprised. So, I think his exact words were, "What? What?"
That's what Keith was saying. There's a
Michelle
lot.
used a bit more
Yeah,
Yeah.
explicit words
Which have
that we cannot repeat.
Michelle, I love you even more now.
Which, having met Michelle, is kind of shocking for her me to know that she said something like that.
And Brittany seemed very surprised by it too.
yeah. Without giving it away, that's
It's a great ending.
we talked about this weeks ago, and I
don't
think
know
I
if it's
mentioned
a great ending.
It's an
It is a great ending, and it's
one-
only great because it's only great if you haven't seen that done before. And I hadn't done. When I saw it, I was a kid, and I hadn't seen that done that way. I hadn't seen. I mean, that movies didn't end that way, and
Oh, yeah,
it just
not usually.
it hit something. I mean, I think I said weeks ago that Beneath was one of my favorite films.
See, it's still one of my least.
And it's on the low list of a lot of people's best of as far as those films go, but
I can see why you like it so
a
much.
majority of it feels like a rehash. That's without spoiling anything. It feels like a rehash of the first film.
The first half of it.
Yeah, but probably half is
A
fair.
condensed version.
But I mean, it feels that way, but it's not.
Yeah.
And if you really look at it on beneath the surface, I get it.
Yeah.
If you look
what
at
you
it beneath
did
the
there.
surface, it's really a intentional setup. And of course, you explained a little bit on Friday, and I can't say much about how he explained it, but you explained why.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rehash, but then to just take that left turn and go there, I thoroughly enjoy that.
I think I'm okay with the ending. I think it's just some of the stuff in that last half of the film I struggle with the humans and whatnot.
I think
I
All
can't
right,
say much.
already. I'll watch it tomorrow night. Jeez.
I won't say any more about this, but it's a perfect narrative on
It's
humanity. I believe
it's a great exploration. I just.
Oh, you do Tuesday
I don't know.
night.
I'll just have to wait until Mel sees it so we can really dig
Tuesday
into
night.
it.
I promise. Tuesday night we'll watch it.
It's a great narrative on humanity, in my opinion.
And that's one thing Kyle really appreciated about it. And the first one, he didn't realize how much philosophy is in these films and how deep they really are.
Well, the first one is, to me, more subtle, and it's more stealthy.
Well, and the evolution debate in that is presented in it.
It's there, and you see it, but it's a little more stealthy than it comes across later in Beneath.
Yeah, Beneath it's much more blatant. Can't get much more blatant.
It's almost like they looked at Planet and said, "Okay, we delivered a message here, and it was one thing. This time when we deliver the message, we're going to hit you in the face a little more with it." And I think that's what I appreciate about the film so much.
Just in case you didn't get it?
Well, no, they're not delivering exactly the same message.
It's a different message.
It expands on the first message, and it ultimately becomes a different message. So,
yeah.
But I think it was a message that really kind of had to be a little more obvious because the message of the first film is so subtle. So,
Okay.
it's a slow burn.
That's a slow, yeah.
It's a slow burn. Well, the film itself is too, but but I mean the entire
saga.
Well, yes, eventually when you get there.
There's more
but if you just chiseled these two films out and had they ended there, you would have had a narrative from point A to point B, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's one big message with two smaller messages in each one. So
I will refrain from commenting.
maybe I'm getting
until
more
next
more
week.
esoteric or philosophical than philosophical.
Philosophical.
Is that
Philosophic
Velociraptor?
That like a
than
falafel?
Than it really is. But
A velociraptor.
I was so excited to.
I want to see that as a T-shirt.
I was
now.
so excited to share this movie with Caitlin, and she fell asleep in the last 20 minutes, and I was like,
That's when it started getting
you
good.
fell asleep in the best part. And then I thought about waking her up, but she'd already been asleep for several minutes, and I thought, oh yeah, at this point, if you're not there from when the thing turns left, you're gonna be totally lost if you wake up in the middle of it.
So did she wake up afterwards and be like, oh man, I missed it?
She woke up afterwards and stumbled to her bed.
So she hasn't said anything else
No.
about missing the last part?
She said the next morning, she said, I'll need to rewatch that again. So it wasn't and I don't think it was even she was bored by it, although that didn't help.
Well, she did.
We
did start a little later.
Slow, yeah.
Than we did the Saturday night, and she did have school that day.
No, yeah, she had school on that day.
Yeah, but not the next day.
But
So
when
it's
we
still a
watched it
long
last
day.
time,
It was 11.
she didn't have. Well, I guess she didn't have school at all, did she?
Yeah, that was a
Last
Saturday,
night. It was a Saturday.
so she got to sleep in. I don't know how much she did sleep in, but she could have had the opportunity.
But we're not talking about Beneath the Planet of the Apes this time. We're talking about Beneath Planet
I'm so
Comic-Con.
proud of Kyle, our meteorologist, who I introduced him to Rise, and he really liked it.
He's so excited about all these.
He's already watched Rise?
Yeah, he already watched Rise. That's how I got him into it that way.
I don't think there's anything
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I mean, it's
He doesn't know
like
that
watching
there's
New
anything
Who
wrong
and
with
Classic. So.
Yeah, and he loved the first one so much that because I let him borrow the Blu-rays to watch these. I don't think I told you about this. He texted me right before we started. Hey Keith, guess what I just ordered on Amazon?
Yeah.
He bought the box set.
All right. The Blu-rays.
Yeah,
Only one film in. And he
only
bought
one
the box set.
film,
That's the
and
impressive
he
thing,
bought the box set. So he is
Well,
hooked.
I hope
I'll
he
have to
wasn't
lend him.
second guessing himself when he finished the second one, because he said he'd have to. He has
He was gonna have to
he'd have
chew
to
on
consider
it,
it,
yeah.
chew on it a little bit. So,
I think,
and I can see where it can leave a newbie that way. I mean, honestly, and now, granted, I watched it at a much younger age, and it blew my mind, and I loved it from then. But it was one of those ones that I was so surprised. I went, did I like that? And it was one of those ones as I thought about it.
and then knowing there are also
for
more
my,
movies coming.
For my junior high mind, that was like, what?
I will refrain from commenting until after Mel watches it.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to let Kyle borrow the book, too, so we can read it. If he's
Wait, there's a second book?
No, there's the first book.
Oh, okay, I was going to say.
After he finishes all the movies, let him read the book.
Everything beyond Planet of the Apes is completely...
Right. Pierre Boulez came in for an early first draft of the second film.
We know you started this, but, your story stinks.
Well, what it was, I didn't want to tweet it out. Well, I don't think this will spoil Mel.
We're going to go a different way, Peter.
It was called Planets of Men. So it was kind of taking Planet of the Apes and reversing it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have worked, honestly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, did you guys do anything else? I mean, we had a truncated recording week.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do
Work
anything
school.
more special. Yeah. I had work and took the kids to school, so work school for me too. Well, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No.
All right, let's move on to news.
Doctor Who Lego proposal moves forward.
Yay, excited.
Congratulations on the 10,000s of supporters.
We're just rehashing because you were poo-pooing the idea, going, it's not going to get traction, it's not going to happen.
No, I don't think I said that. I said I didn't think it would go anywhere quick, and it has gone there. So they've proved me wrong.
So it's kind of like the White House petition. If you get so many votes, it moves forward in the line.
Exactly.
So it's one step closer for Lego actually starting to look at it and go, oh, okay, let's see if we can make something.
I think I also said, though, all along that this is Lego gauging the popularity. So this week's news is no surprise to me.
Yeah.
So it still doesn't mean anything's been greenlit, though.
Yeah,
So-
It now goes from idea stage to review stage, and a review board comprised of designers, product managers, and other key team members will examine the idea, and that will happen in May.
So there you go.
I did enjoy their comments here. Congratulations. This is from Lego. Congratulations, Glenn Bricker and Caminoan, on reaching 10,000 supporters on Lego Cusco. You presented a very nice TARDIS exterior and interior playset and an assortment of characters from which to choose. We're looking forward to considering this project in Lego Review. But for now, excuse us while we go make an electroshock device. Just in case this really is a Nestine plot to take over the world via a toy factory. We now officially advance this project to the review phase. Cool. Anybody who's going to write that, I'm on board with this company.
Their heart is in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's what that says to me. So. Well, exciting. That's good. I hope it continues to venture forward, and ultimately we get a game out of it.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
What else is in the news?
The BBC announced an actress is going to join the cast playing a villain. Keely Hawes will play... I'm trying to find the name now. Miss Delphox, a powerful, out-of-this-world character with a dark secret.
Does anybody know this actress?
She looks really familiar, but I could not place her in anything she's done. She's done the voice of Lara Croft in several Tomb Raider video games also.
She must be...
So once I hear her... So once we hear her, we might recognize her.
That's where I've
only
seen...
if she makes this noise. As I threw her off a cliff again.
Oh, she played a villain or Laura? You threw her off. Oh, you mean she ran off a cliff?
She played Laura.
Is that what you mean?
No, Laura often did it herself very often.
After the 90th time, it began, I was hurling Lara Croft off cliffs. On purpose. Because she wouldn't... The camera system in Tomb Raider was always backwards, where you know how third-person games
it was
are
before they could reverse it.
Follows it around, and then you do something, and all of a sudden the camera decides it needs to be over here. Usually it's right in the middle of trying to jump from one cliff face to another cliff face, and the camera moves.
Oh, and he probably wants to see where he lands.
Exactly, because she landed.
Yeah.
Face plant.
After you miss that jump, and Laura cries out in agony, you
not
start
quite the Wilhelm scream.
You start throwing her into rivers and off cliffs and
Croft scream.
Yeah,
Just
there
the
you go. Croft scream.
City Marty.
Well, when you've got a really good gamer like Will, the James Heckard, a friend of ours, who badmouths Laura Croft, then you know it's bad.
It got better in the later ones.
Well, he
like
loves the
in
games.
Anniversary
Oh, no.
and
It was just...
Legend and Underworld. The mechanics got much better.
Yeah. Don't
Any
get me
Laura
wrong.
Croft I played did not have that issue, but I haven't played a lot of them.
No, he loved the game. He just didn't like that aspect of it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. They were all fun, but
That is a frustrating part of it. I agree.
It makes advancing in the game a little difficult at times.
Well, and that's how you know you've got a good voice actor too. When everybody play the Indiana Jones game, when the guy that did Harrison Ford's voice for it wasn't Harrison Ford obviously, but the guy who did Indy, and anytime Indy would have to climb up, he's always huffing and puffing and a lot of grunts and that kind of stuff as he climbs up mountains and things. And anytime I missed a jump and he fell and he went ugh and landed, and then worse than that was the fact that I had to climb up this thing, and I felt bad for Indy. Like, dude, I'm so sorry that I caused you to miss your jump. I will try better this time. Just because of the voice acting was that good. So
she did do him for all the I want to say last generation, but now 2 generations ago Lara Croft games. So Legend, Anniversary, Underworld, and Guardian of Light.
Would we know her from anything else?
She has been in Upstairs,
Guardian of Light.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
If anybody's watched that, she was in Death at a Funeral,
The proper British one?
the proper British one.
Oh.
I might know her from that, depending on who she played.
She played Jane.
Well, that doesn't help me now. You'd have to...
Yeah.
Anything else?
MI5.
Oh, I did see
Agatha
she's in
Christie's
MI5.
Marple.
No.
So a lot of
So nothing that we've seen.
good British acting.
Nothing that we've seen her
chops.
that she stood out in if we did see her.
A lot of British stuff.
She looks
huh?
very familiar.
And the voice of Lara Croft.
Yeah. Who's British.
Wait, was she in Harry Potter?
She wasn't, surprisingly.
Wow.
And then the next bit of news, classic Doctor Who is going to air on a horror channel in the UK.
And I think as Louis Trapani of Podshock said on Facebook, well, I guess it's better than nothing. I guess he said, horror channel? Well, I guess it's better than nothing.
There's a certain amount. The horror. I think it's a reach. I think it's kind of like showing wrestling on Swiffy. It's not quite.
See, I
fit.
disagree.
It's not.
I
It's not
disagree.
that far of a reach.
It's not that far of
I
a reach.
disagree.
but-
I don't think it's. I think it's a very, very small reach, in my opinion.
Because do they have a sci-fi based channel over there?
Despite all of
Well,
the,
I don't know that, but I mean, I still think it fits.
well, despite all of the Hinchcliffe stuff, which feels very almost horror, Hammer horror, I think when British children or people that watched Doctor Who as a child referred to it as that show you watch from behind the sofa, that's how you watch horror films.
More so in
And
more
so
so in the UK.
Yeah,
It's a
so
horror
I mean,
show.
to me, it doesn't have a lot of the horror tropes. It doesn't fit in the horror genre. But is it far removed from horror? No, I don't think it really is. Yeah,
Well-
I don't think much science fiction is removed far from horror, other than horror entails a lot of not just suspense and thrills, but gore. And Doctor Who does not have that.
I think they
but does
need
it
to
have the
rebrand
other
this channel.
elements? Does it have the other
Sure.
elements that I think it fits fine. I think it's just fine.
other series that are available on this channel include Wonder Woman, Xena Warrior Princess, New Twilight Zone, Star Trek, and The Invaders.
That's exactly why.
So it's a sci-fi channel.
Was
That's exactly
Twilight?
No, it's just other shows that air.
Oh. Yeah.
I just said Twilight Zone.
New Twilight Zone.
Oh.
New Twilight.
Okay.
New Twilight Zone.
I heard.
Which was
was-
bad.
which
Almost
was-
as bad.
Which
Yeah.
New Twilight Zone was a lot more horror than it was.
I heard
What
new
it was
and then
in the
Twilight. And I
60s.
was
It
thinking
was
New
more.
Moon.
What was that one? Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
The series. Yeah.
Agreed.
But they're going to do marathons starting Good Friday.
How far are they
over
going back?
Easter
Are they
weekend?
doing
It's
everything,
starting.
or-
The first one that's going to air is An Unearthly Child,
Oh, okay.
and so then they're going to have a story, marathon of one story of each Doctor for the weekend, and then what they're going to do after that, they're not entirely sure.
Are they omnibus or are they going to be half hours?
Well, it's a marathon, so it'll be well, it doesn't say. It doesn't specify.
But we'll
I see
get omnibus.
I see what
obviously
you're
for the
getting.
stories. Okay, I got you.
It'll-
Well, still,
well,
if you live in England, this is exciting news. If you're here,
yeah, good for
if
you
you've
guys.
got one of those massive satellite dishes in your backyard and can get 9,000 channels, maybe you can tune into the horror channel, watch some Doctor Who.
Or if you live in Wichita, you can watch it on
You had to
their,
bring up the
their
channel.
PBS station. Starting with some Tom Baker.
Huzzah!
Huzzah. Huzzah.
And last in the news, Li Who has announced more guests. Colin Spowell. Is that how his last name? Spowell?
Spall's probably
Spall.
more
is-
likely. I don't know, but that seems more likely.
Is coming to Li Who. He, of course, played Mr. Crane in Age of Steel: Rise of Cybermen.
Of course.
Of course. You didn't recognize his name? You didn't? Oh, I didn't.
Not till I heard what he was in.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Lilt in Revelation of the Daleks.
So we're not going to
And
talk
other
about,
Big Finish.
We're not going to talk about the missing episodes being recovered, huh? Okay, we'll just let that one slide for a week.
I didn't see an announcement from the BBC.
I posted it on our Facebook.
I didn't see an announcement from the BBC.
I read your article, and
It's not my article.
no, I read the article you posted, the article that you directed everybody to. It's more of the same articles I've been reading for 7 weeks now, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 13 weeks. This is more like in line with what's current, and I think if we keep talking about that, it's like it's like the magazines that continually to reprocess and regurgitate the same information. So I think that's why I don't want to talk about it. When it happens, I think that's when we talk about it again.
Easter Saturday.
I wasn't done with L.I. Who guests.
Okay, go ahead.
Fraser Hines is also returning.
Yay, Frasier!
So if you haven't got a chance to see Frasier yet, now is
He's
your
a return
opportunity.
guest to LI because he was there last year.
Yeah.
That it?
That's it for news.
Let's move on to feedback. And yes, I know I'm rushing us along, but we're all tired, and I think we all want to talk about Planet Comic-Con, so I'm not trying to short anybody, because we do only have 2 feedbacks this week.
That's
funnily
right.
enough.
First
Providing Keith checked Facebook.
I do check Facebook and the website.
Good man.
That's what you were rushing me along before we started
You
recording.
should have done that long before we started.
Well, maybe you should have done that and brought your iPad.
Actually, I did.
Then why didn't you just tell me there was nothing?
Because it's funner to poke you with a stick.
Having now admitted that, I don't want to ever hear it from you. Oops. The next time I've got my stick out and you're looking at me like, what are you doing?
You know, it's always situational. If I'm in a mood, I don't want to be poked with a stick. Keith hasn't expressed the fact that he's in a mood. I'm trying to put him there. This week, part of Grumpy Bear will be pillaged by Keith.
Is that the difference?
That's all it takes.
It's all in my state of mind.
It's not that we're poking a grumpy bear with a stick. It's that the fact that we're poking somebody with a stick who's now going to be a grumpy bear. We're self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sometimes.
Stuck in a time loop.
We are on more things than just that, too, though. So. Who's up first?
First up is Robert. He wrote in comment question, what? Is that a bustle in the hedgerows? Hello. First off, wow. A little over a week after I suggested it, the TTV book club is up at Goodreads.
We move fast.
Yeah, well,
Chrissy
on some
does.
things.
Chrissy moves very fast.
Hey. She's part of the gang.
She's
We
not.
move
Yes.
fast.
we have a gang now.
Here's what I've learned. Now, I'm sorry, I'm hijacking your feedback early, Robert, but here's what I've determined. When we delegate jobs, things get done quickly. When we try to do them ourselves, nope, pretty much not.
Wait.
Until I just get fed up and do it myself.
yeah.
We let somebody
Keith's
else.
like, nobody's done this, I'm going to do it.
We let somebody else handle our Tumblr page.
Yes.
Did you guys join the book club?
I did join the book club.
I was the second
I have
person
yet
to
to post
join.
photos.
Keith, aren't you paying attention?
I have yet to post photos from Galley to our
I'm
Tumblr.
I'm sorry, I was
Okay, so
I was at Planet
I was
Comic-Con
on there
Friday.
Friday afternoon. As soon as she put it up, I was on there. Where were you go? Oh, that was my first thought. Was I joined, and then I noticed Brittany joined next. Then I noticed I might have been Robert was third, or maybe it was Michelle. Those two were close to. And I was sitting there going,
I think Michelle joined
wow.
on Friday Night Who.
Maybe it was. Anyway, and I sat there and I thought, wow, all these people are joining. Where's Sean and Keith? And then it hit me. I was like, what? They probably haven't even seen the invitation yet.
Oh, he was playing with it Friday night, and it's like, okay, we've been at the con all day, and you're going to pull that up now?
I did it Friday night, too, once I saw the invite.
You rated a bunch of books, too, that night, too. You got your profile fleshed out a little bit Friday.
Well, but,
Yeah, because
should've
Mel
known.
was in bed sleeping, and he had the computer on the bed ticking away.
I like that one and that one and that one.
Sorry, Robert.
I knew I was in trouble when I would wake up and realize I'd gone to the bottom of the page and hadn't ticked anything yet. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Sorry, Robert. We didn't mean to hijack your email.
Here's hoping it lasts and everyone enjoys it.
Yay!
I know Chrissy has a poll up already, and there's been some discussions. So it's active so far. Earlier this month, I bought the Riff Tracks VOD of the second Peter Cushing Doctor Who Dalek movie. It's just as much fun as the first. There's lots of riffs about the Dalek's voice, the overall cheesy nature of the movie. Other riffs reference Starway to Heaven, Star Wars, the Washington Generals, and Apple.
The Washington Generals. I just realized that's who the Daleks are. The Doctor is the Harlem Globetrotters, and the Daleks are the... I am totally going out and buying the riff tracks. If that's the joke they made, that's
probably is.
That's worth my money right there.
Bravo.
The Washington Generals are the team that always lose. Like it's, okay. You win.
She gets it. She's just tired.
Okay.
Poke, poke, poke.
Growl.
She might actually bite.
We're sorry. The part of the Grumpy Bear cannot be played by Glenn or Keith tonight, and will be played by the understudy Mel.
I learned quickly.
He continues, enjoying the PCC picks you got your posting. I hope you have a good time there. My con season doesn't start for another month yet. I will be going back to Conquest over Memorial Day weekend. Hope you get a chance to make it this year. All for now, Robert. Next up is Chrissy.
Chrissy writes, "Hello, Kansas City. Dear Vortex boys, before we get into the rest of the podcast, let me give you a nickel's worth of free advice. When you three have to get out maps and globes to settle a debate, that is a sign you need to move on with your news list.
Chrissy, have you not learned by now? We never move on when we should.
Geography is not your thing, boys. This has been well and truly documented. I say this as a listener, a fan, and a friend."
Yeah, add that to the list
In
of
our
things.
defense, at least we know we're not in Canada.
That's true.
That much we know.
Although,
Eh?
okay, I'll save it for later.
But we do have a gaming convention that has an exclusive Canadian mascot. Canadian superhero mascot.
We do?
Yeah, in Kansas.
We do?
Yep. CantsCon. They sponsored the gaming room, and apparently there's a. I'm pulling up the website now.
That's what that was?
Yeah.
We've joked about CantsCon before.
This is the first I've ever heard
The
of it.
first year,
I've heard of it several
I think they
years.
have a very unfortunate name. I'm sure it stands for something cool, but CantsCon sounds to me like, well, I'm just going to go home then because I can't do it. Just.
Well, did you see that
CantsCon
flyer
is
that
the
they
theme
had?
of my life. Oh, there's a con? Oh, I can't.
Can't.
Gallifrey this year? I can't.
It was an event that was born out of not being able to go to Gen Con,
See?
and therefore it's called CantsCon.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. It's so much more awesome now.
Glenn's going to go to that one.
Okay,
And
quickly fill us in because we've tangented now.
It's set in Overland Park. It doesn't.
CanCon will be CanCon for me.
Their website does not have anything about their Canadian superhero mascot. I'm not seeing anything. I brought it up to you in the room.
Did you?
Yeah, in the gaming room. Do you remember that?
Was it
showed
the
you
day I had
flyer.
my kids or the day I didn't?
The day you had your kids.
Well, that's probably why I was distracted.
Squirrel.
I apologize.
All right.
They have a Canadian superhero mascot.
So there's a Canadian superhero mascot, CantsCon.
Look it up.
Look it up. You're on your own. Chrissy continues. I know you've all got plenty of Planet Comic-Con adventures to get.
The absurdity of this show today.
I'm just going to send
guess this
Glenn
is why
random
you-
text. Can't con. You wait. I'm going to start.
I guess this is why you don't record after a weekend of conning.
Glenn, you going to Conquest? Can't con.
You should write a book.
Can't con equals Glenn. There you go.
Hey, Glenn, are you going to Comic-Con in St. Louis? Can't
Can't.
con.
I'm sure we could get Buckman and Garcia to do the theme. Sounds like something they can't con.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Let me try that again. I know you've all got plenty of Planet Comic-Con adventures to get.
My Little Pony convention? Won't con.
We're not talking about won't cons. We're talking about can't cons.
Why is it a Canadian super?
I was trying to shut that down because it was so random and tangential. Now he can't escape it.
Sucked in. Okay. Plenty of Comic-Con adventures to get to, so I'll keep this relatively brief.
But not CantCon.
Go on.
I'm going to go to CanCon this year
I'm going to read it.
just to do it.
Can Traveling Vortex sponsor CantCon?
Oh, that would
We
be
can
awesome.
take the card game.
We could take the
Monopoly.
If we didn't have enough to do this weekend, we should have totally stationed somebody in the gaming room and play the card game. That would have been really cool.
It was there. Did you see it?
Was
it?
it?
One,
Somebody
it was one of the
had
games you could check out to play. We'll get there.
Sorry, Chrissy.
We'll get there.
Okay. But I do want to let anyone who's interested know that the Traveling the Vortex Book Club is now live on Goodreads.
Yay.
So far, there's just a thread for people to come in and introduce themselves, plus a poll to vote on what the book club wants to read for the month of April. The poll will close on March 30th, and I'll announce the winner on
Sean's tongue went to CantCon.
We're not poking fun. I'm sure it's a fine convention.
I'm sure it is.
I will announce the winner on the 31st. So the poll closes March 30th. She will announce the winner on the 31st for the book for April. Everybody got that. I estimate that people may need a week or two to get a copy of the book and to read it. And if anyone has any issues getting a copy of the book, you can send me a direct message on Goodreads or Twitter, and I'll be more than happy to help you out.
So if you can't con, then contact Chrissy. Sorry.
No, can't read or can't get. That's can't get, not can't go.
Can't read's a whole other issue.
What if I can get, but I can't read?
Then you have a serious issue.
Is there a con for that?
Sorry.
We're still very much in the early stages of getting things pinned down to a routine. Well, we're not going to get there.
Yeah,
either.
she knows you guys. Don't worry about it.
So I only ask people to be patient, and I'll certainly tweak things that need to be tweaked as we go along. Here's a direct link to the group's homepage. We will include that in the show notes. Or you can search Doctor Who Book Club, Traveling the Vortex on the group section of Goodreads and find it out that way. Oh, and Goodreads is kind of sneaky about their polls. On the group homepage, there is a sidebar on the right with a bunch of different links for the group. Under this list is a link to polls, and this month's poll is the only one there so far. Or if it makes it easier, here's the direct link, and again, we'll put that there. Like I said, this is stuff we're going to work at as we go along. A few things for your news list.
Hang on, two things that I want to address is, number one, thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you,
For
Chrissy.
the quick turnaround response on
Big
this.
applause, big applause.
Big
Big
applause for
applause.
Chrissy. Also, thanks to Robert, who planted that seed.
Spurred the idea.
Both
Credit
of
where
you guys
credit is due.
get total credit on that because that's phenomenal, and we're glad that we're moving quickly on this because I was excited by it when Robert suggested the idea and was even more excited when Chrissy said she'd take it on.
Yeah.
I haven't got a chance to look at it much, so...
Brief side note for any new listeners that may have joined us after Planet Comic-Con and gone, what am I listening to?
This is pretty much it.
Welcome to the show.
Sometimes
We're
we're
here.
Sometimes we're better disciplined. Sometimes.
Not frequently, but sometimes we're better.
Run. Whatever you do, run.
Hopefully at least you're laughing with us. Not at us.
You can laugh at us, too.
Let's
I'm all
do
right
it.
with it.
As long as you keep listening.
So the Traveling the Vortex Book Club is a club that is on Goodreads, and the idea being that we can read a Doctor Who book once a month or once every 2 months or so that we all read, and then we can make comments on together.
Because if you're new to the podcast, you won't know that we have done books on the show, and a lot of people that have not been able to catch up or read along, this also gives them an opportunity. If that happens to be one of the books that is chosen for the month, then others who have not read and reviewed it in feedback on our show will have a chance to read it as well and give their own personal reviews. So that'll be
Safety in
helpful as
numbers.
well.
That's
Yeah.
what we're going for. So that's that. Chrissy continues. Here are a few things for your news list while we're talking cons and stuff. Friday morning, it was announced that Karen Gillian is going to be at the Salt Lake Comic-Con fan experience next month. They need a shorter con name. The Salt Lake Comic Con
don't
fan
say it.
experience.
FanX.
FanX, but it's
Okay.
but here's the thing: is I think the reason that's probably the quick abbreviation is what people say is FanX, because I don't think this is their Comic Con. This
It's
is
not
like
their
a
Comic-Con,
subcon
yeah.
of that. So
Because the other one is Salt Lake City Comic Con.
yeah, and so that I think is why. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chrissy, but that is why it's a long title. But I have a feeling that it's probably in casual conversation considered FanX.
Okay.
So.
She's going to be at FanX next month. They started teasing. They had a big Doctor Who announcement Thursday afternoon. They broke the news on a local show Friday, also breaking Facebook in the process. Here's the official announcement, and we'll include that link in the show notes. I don't have my tickets for FanX yet because I'm doing some stuff there for work, and I'm trying to decide if it's worth getting tickets if I'm going to get in there as a vendor anyway. Also, Sylvester McCoy is going to be at FantasyCon in Salt Lake City in July. And she includes a link there. Speaking of the Seventh Doctor, I had no idea you boys were going to be interviewing Sylvester McCoy. I mean, I knew you said he was going to be at Planet Comic Con, and you were excited about it, but I don't recall you guys announcing it. Maybe I just don't pay good enough attention. But I saw pictures and things you posted yesterday, and you'll probably get to it later, but I have to ask, knowing how Sylvester was at Galley, did you guys actually interview him, or did he kind of take over and leave you three behind?
We'll get to that later.
Yes.
However, let me jump in here and explain, because it occurred to me after I read her
We
email.
never said it.
You know
Yeah.
why we didn't? Because we knew before we could announce it, and we went into lockdown, shutdown mode so that we wouldn't spoil anything and wouldn't say
And then we
anything
forgot
too
to
soon.
announce it.
And then we
We
didn't.
never got the
We-
okay
we-
to
well,
say we were going to be doing it.
I think we
I think it
sort
was
of
understood that we
yeah, it
could
was
have at that
understood that
point.
we could, but we hadn't yet, and just completely didn't realize that we hadn't announced it because
Yeah.
in our heads we were already squealing about it.
Yeah.
So.
Surprise! Yeah, we found out early that Sylvester was going to be coming.
Well, and it wasn't concrete, and that's
It
why we
wasn't
couldn't say
concrete.
anything because we certainly can't jump out there and say something that turns around to be not possible. So, can't con.
Unless it's Doctor Who air dates, missing episodes found, who's
Okay.
going to be in the 50th.
Keith and I can't come out and say anything that's not.
Anything in this case that we're contractually obligated not to talk about.
Right,
we were
right.
contractually obligated not to talk about it. So because we were contractually obligated not to talk about it, we didn't talk about it, and then I think we kind of forgot because we were already in the know, and we just assumed everybody else was. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. It was the assumption that we had told everybody.
This Fantasy Con is quite the con.
Fantasy Con?
Fantasy, the one that
Fantasy
Sylvester's
Con.
going to be at.
Oh.
John Rhys Davies,
Ooh.
Sean Ashton, Doug Jones,
Doug Jones! Woo!
and another guy from The Hobbit.
I love Doug Jones.
And that's more to
And
come.
another guy.
Another
from
guy
the
from The
Hobbit.
Hobbit. Can't come.
Can't con. Can't con. That's how it
Yeah,
should be
but
said.
then you gotta
Like Yahoo.
It's like, oh,
I did not get the Yahoo.
I thought he was going for Oklahoma or something.
Keith launched into his own musical number.
As part of the revamp of the short format, in order to really drive home to our new listeners that anything goes in the show, musical numbers may happen at any time.
He was on Lost? Sorry, go ahead. Continue. Who
was on Lost?
This dude from The Hobbit. Graham McTavish.
Get off the internet, Keith.
Keith, Imdaba.
Condaba.
If I ever do leave you three behind, we'll get to that. Either way, it's awesome. Now I'm going to shut up and let you tell us all about it. Chrissy. P.S. To any new listeners who have come to Traveling the Vortex because of Planet Comic Con, may I just say welcome and come join the book club and Friday Night Who and all the other crazy stuff we do here. Chrissy's a better ambassador for us than we are. Oh, thank you, Chrissy.
That's
Thank
why
you,
we
Chrissy.
surround ourselves with important people.
That's the first rule. Surround yourself with people better than you
That's
are.
right. More competent than you are.
Unless you're Can't Con, in which case you get a bunch of people together and go, man, I wish I could go somewhere. We should do what? Let's go play games in the basement. Okay. I'm being very unfair. I'm sorry. That was not cool. I'm very slap happy. I've had 3 straight days of.
We're having a lot of fun at their expense, but we mean no disrespect.
I'm honestly thinking of going now because it's at Overland Park Convention Center.
That'd be quick and easy too.
Yeah.
What? When is it?
It is.
Oh, we might as well give them a shout out.
Let's
Let's
give them
help
a
them
plug.
out.
It
here.
is July 18th to the 20th.
So it's 2-day con. Are there any guests
18, 19,
That's
20.
besides a Canadian
A
superhero?
vendor, Black Blade Publishing.
Do you know what they make?
High quality gaming material
Okay.
for role playing games.
We get to plan Comic-Con discussion. I'm going to talk these guys up, so we'll get there eventually.
So, and that's their first time. That's going to be their first time at the Overland Park. So they're
Where
growing.
were they before? Do you know?
No,
I was getting after him for looking this up, and now I'm asking him all kinds of questions.
So while Keith looks that up, Planet Comic-Con was this weekend.
is that what happened?
Well, there's our show.
Well, you make it sound like nothing happened.
Look for a side trip.
Are you kidding
There
me?
was way too much that happened. I don't know where to start.
Yeah, no. Well, you guys
Well,
need to start.
early Friday.
You guys need to start
Friday.
because I was not involved until Saturday morning. So you guys go ahead and take off here because I'll let everybody know what I was doing Friday. I was working, and I was there late, and I was mad. And so I set up a Twitter stream that hashtag Planet Comic Con and lived vicariously through the Twitter stream feed. And I was so excited. I'm going to call you out, Sean. I was so excited because Sean posted a Twitter comment early in the day. Be sure to cover us, or be sure to follow us, and he listed everybody, including me who wasn't there yet, for
you'd
our
post stuff when
Planet
you did get
Comic
there.
Con 2014 coverage, pictures and whatnot. And I was all excited. And I thought, oh, good, because I'll be able to live through you guys. I didn't see anything out there from
We
you guys.
worked hard.
You guys were busy. I will give you that.
Man.
The
But
one picture I posted was all I had time
I
to
got
do.
one picture
Yeah.
from Keith, and I got one picture from Sean. And Sean's was the quiet or the calm before the storm, and it was an empty Comic Con because it was before they had opened. And
And then the storm hit.
Before we go further,
so that's what I did Friday.
CansCon last year was at Crown Plaza Hotel in Overland Park.
Oh, that's quite a step up for them.
That
Then.
is a step up. I'm glad they're getting some traction.
I think we should go and play some Settlers of Catan.
We'll play Settlers. We'll play Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'm down.
We'll get with Legacy and see if we can get some codes to hand out to people.
Which, credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Well,
Yahtzee.
yes.
Yeah, he said
that
we
idea,
should,
too.
We should have done that for PlanetCon. I was like, that's a good idea, man. How come I didn't think of that? So yeah, the con started. This is the first day, first year that Planet Comic Con went to a Friday, and apparently had record-breaking attendance.
We actually arrived
to local news. We didn't know that until later, but
Well, it's automatic because it was a first Friday.
so we should have known.
I predict great things today. No, they had where they're at in Bartle Hall, which is the main convention center. And somebody correct me. We talked, I think, a little bit. I found out that Bartle Hall is like the largest freestanding structure in North America. I keep trying to revisit what I said, and I don't remember.
You said something along those lines.
Thanks,
It
Keith.
is the largest
Because there are no pillars.
freestanding expansive structure in North America. I believe
Expansive,
that's
yeah,
right.
because of the
Expansive.
cables.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
It is
expansive.
North America because it used to be the world at one point, didn't it?
I think it's North America.
But it's just North
Because I think
America
there's a sign as you come in, and I can't remember where I saw that sign, but I saw it on writing somewhere. Maybe it's in Bartle Hall. I can't remember.
Anyway,
But I think it says expansive because it's this way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a huge building,
it is.
and
We still only took up a part of it.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more Bartle Hall than what we even got, and we get a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
Well, and
I
it
say
was
we like it's our convention, but yeah.
well, it is our convention.
Well, that's true.
And it was double the size that it was last year.
On the convention floor.
They had double the convention floor
Well,
space for the
and
dealer's room, and double the panel
Panels,
space
yeah.
compared to what was there last year.
And the panel, there was the big panel room that was the same as last year, and then all the other panel rooms were fairly even size down below.
Yeah.
Which was not
Because
which was-
last year they had
which-
split one
Yeah.
room in half because it's divided off. and made that 2 rooms. And that was the other panel room, which we were in one of those last year. And Kirk said himself, I'm going to tell them that Doctor Who needs a bigger room. So, and we did, because we packed it last year and turned around, eventually packed it again.
And
this
honestly,
year.
I think Timey Wimey might have even filled up the main hall too.
Timey needs a bigger.
Timey Wimey needs a bigger room, but we'll get to that too. So Friday started, and we were hopping pretty much.
We got
there and we did the tour.
got up at 6:30, and we were there. The tour, we had to be there by 8:30 to get our volunteer instructions and get the back tour, because some of us were leading guest stars and some of us were being room monitors, and so Kirk wanted to make sure that people knew how to get the guests to their
especially
places.
Since it was a new setup this year compared to last year, it was important to get the behind-the-scenes tour.
So
guess who missed the behind-the-scenes tour on Friday?
Sean.
In fairness, we were
2 years in a row.
Yep.
In fairness,
Well, at least he made it for Saturday.
we were driving in, and so knowing the time factor and everything, I went ahead and dropped them off, and then went.
Well, he
Which
means
is ironic.
they.
We were walking out of the parking garage as he was dropping them off,
And
we
he means
didn't
they.
coordinate
It
that
was
at all.
myself, my daughter, and her boyfriend Brandon, who Jesse has volunteered before, but Brandon had not. So we wanted to make sure Brandon got there to make sure he got the volunteer stick and, the instructions needed and whatnot over. So Sean dropped us off early, and as we were walking up, here comes Blake and and Keith, hey! So we all got to walk in together, which is kind of cool, except for Sean.
Who then had to drive down to check into the hotel and had gotten early permission to check in early. They're like, yeah, we've got one room. Now keep in mind that, so in Kansas City, because, Kansas City's such a great town, we can't schedule things not on top of one another. So we've got Planet Comic-Con going on, downtown Kansas City. A very few short blocks away from Planet Comic-Con at the Sprint Center is the Big 12 basketball tournament going on. And then on the other end of town is NakaCon, which is the big anime con down in Overland Park. So all 3 going on this weekend. There were no hotels to be had. Mm-hmm. So we were not in the close Marriott. We were in a further away Marriott. And we had arranged everything out that we were going to buy bus passes and bus up and back and forth. So I went and checked into the hotel, dropped everything off, grabbed the stuff that we needed, and then bust my way back to Bartle Hall. So I still got there before the con opened, but I missed the tour.
We filled you in, though.
But they filled me in, which would come in hysterically funny later. We lost Margot Kidder's story. We didn't lose Margot Kidder. So yeah, they pretty much meld. You were a workhorse.
So you lost Lois Lane and the Doctor?
We'll get there.
Did Jesse and Brandon enjoy volunteering? I barely saw them.
And Jesse had a stressful. She
had a stressful go of it.
Well, because this was a different layout for the con. The audio and everything was different, and so. There was some technical difficulties.
It wasn't bad, but there were a few hiccups.
Yeah, it was just what
that she was sitting out.
Yeah, well, and we had it too with Timey Wimey. Well, actually, it was Clint or Eddie that had the problem, not Timey Wimey. But yeah, anytime you rearrange a con in the way it was originally structured out, you're going to have some issues, and the issues got resolved as quick as they could. But her and Brandon did enjoy it, so. We worked so hard this weekend, though. And Friday was a full day, and wow, yeah.
You had a lot on your plate, Mel. And Jesse. And
yeah, you guys had the most out of any of us.
Well, I think more than anything, it was just my personal opinion. I don't know if Kirk, if he's listening, will vouch for this, but I think it just means because of the way your mind works. Whereas the 3 of us are squirrel. let's go chase this tangent. Kirk knows he can throw you something and it's going to get done. But it's also the fact that because you did a good job last year, he knew he could load your plate with this and trust you to do this, and this.
Well,
and I took it as a great compliment that you were busy.
Oh yeah, I didn't mind at all.
And what was nice with a lot of your stuff is you weren't all over the place. It was a chunk at a time. At one spot, and that's what they did this year too. Yeah. Was instead of having multiple room monitors throughout the day, it's like 3 for the full day.
Yeah, and so from a couple of the other people,
did like 4 panels at a time.
I'm trying to think of who had someone made a comment about room monitors and that it was nice to have the same one through several panels because they got to know that person and knew what they were doing and what they expect from that person versus multiple monitors. So
yeah, I think that was a good setup. So you were off doing that, and then my first big responsibility came as I was going to table sit for Margot Kidder. Margot Kidder, Lois Lane at the con, fantastic, great. And so
you lost her and you were table sitting?
I'll get there. So I go over a little early and introduce myself to whoever her handler person is, and just say, hey, I'm here for Margot Kidder. Not yet, but just so that when she leaves for her panel, I'm supposed to sit in on her stuff. And her handler says, I don't need you. It's like, oh, really? He goes, nah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. It's like, you sure? He goes, yep. Okay.
Which happens. That happens.
It happened for my table sitting job too.
So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm free. And at that moment, there was another person with a badge and somebody else there, and they're all going, well, who's Margot Kidder? Who's taking Margot Kidder? Nobody knew who was escorting Margot Kidder. I was like, I don't know. And they said, well, are you doing it? I was like, well, I was supposed to table sit, but I have a free hour. I can certainly take her over there. And they're like, okay, it's your job. It's like, okay, cool. Where are we going? Because I missed the tour. So then there was some confusion on where 3501 is, because I'm used to last year's layout, which was not, there's A, B, and C. That's it. Where do these numbers come from?
And they're all the same level.
Yeah. And so there was some, I didn't realize it was main hall. If somebody just said, oh, she's in the Great Hall, I'd have figured that out. So so I've got the security guard on the phone going, where is this? Well, it's across the Sky Bridge. I was like, well, yeah, I kind of figured that it was in the other room, but which one of the, I was like, I don't want to wander down there and go, hang on one second, Margot. It's this one, So at that moment, she got up with one of the other volunteers and kind of wandered away from her table while we were trying to figure that out. And then an actual security guard, an honest-to-goodness security guard shows up. I'm here to escort Margot Kidder. And we all went, really? Because I thought it was supposed to be one of these. She goes, no, all celebrities are getting security escorts this year. It's like, oh. At that moment, Kirk showed up. Kirk is like Superman. He's got the red shirt on, and he flies in and fixes whatever needs fixed. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" So I just explained. I was like, "I don't know who's supposed to do it. I'm volunteering to do it. She's saying that she can do it." And then we looked around and realized Margot was not at the table, and we have no idea where she went. Okay, so now, oh my God, where's Margot Kidder? And I won't disclose where Margot Kidder was or what she was doing. But she turned up, and so we got her to her panel, and everything was fine. And because I didn't have to table sit, I got to sit in on it, and she told some amazing stories. I had no idea her life was as interesting as it was. That she grew up literally 20. She was born and raised 20 miles from the Arctic Circle, in the middle of nowhere.
That you told me. Yeah,
I thought I told you the front part of it.
I didn't hear the front part of it, but you told me about sitting and chatting with her.
Yeah, and it's just, she's a fascinating life story. That she had never seen wall-to-wall carpeting. That she had never seen a movie. These are things that they didn't have up there. And she got her first movie magazine and fell in love with the idea of, look at these people and the lives they lead and all this kind of stuff, and that's amazing. I want to do that. And her mother outlawed these magazines from being in the house. There was just absolutely no, we're not going to deal with that. So she would get a supply from the bush pilots who used to, you've seen this in the movies, right? Where the hard-drinking bush pilot with a big grizzly beard comes in and does something. Apparently these guys exist up there. Maybe they're in Canada, too. I don't know. But they're all over the place, and they would smuggle in stacks of these movie magazines, and she would devour them. And she joked that, whereas we were stuffing other things in between the mattress and her bed, she had movie magazines that she was putting in there. It was a really fascinating talk, and I kind of wished I'd gotten to spend more time with Margot, but I didn't. So. And that was the extent of my work responsibilities for Friday. So I didn't have a lot to do with that.
I didn't have a lot on my plate initially. I hung around and helped Kirk and Kelly with some stuff, handing out schedules to guests. Got to hand the schedule to Sylvester McCoy when he got there and talk with him a little bit. And then I was supposed to go table sit. They didn't need me either. And so the photo guys needed a volunteer. And Kelly was like, I don't know how, or didn't know who she was going to send because everyone was booked up. And so I was like, well, I don't have anything. I can go over there. I was there till 6 o'clock. From 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That was my Friday. So I spent like maybe 20 minutes wandering the floor.
Now, Froggy's Photos is where you go.
Where the celebrities go.
You book your celebrity you're going to get your photograph with.
Yeah.
You go there. You get that nice photograph that you pay, $40 or whatever for.
Whatever the amount is.
And you get your photo.
At certain
your professional
times.
photo.
And then they print it for you and all great stuff. Which was fine. It was there were parts of it that were a lot of fun, especially when the celebrities would come up and do the interviews. You could get to see them coming in and coming out and then kind of interacting with them, and that was really neat. Eddie McClintock came through and it was really funny and really nice, and Jewel came by. Then the Trek people came in and it was just a rush, and I was
Now, part of that was
handling all the money and taking all care of taking the orders and making sure everything was straight, and so
part of that I just found out. I think was apparently the planes were delayed.
Yeah.
And so they had to completely rearrange a bunch of schedules.
yeah,
and stuff
a lot
for
of
that
planes
day.
were delayed. They had to push people back. Ratzenberger didn't show up, get in at all until like 10 o'clock Friday night, and so they had to shuffle a whole bunch of stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I actually heard when I was over there talking to John Ratzenberger, the guy came over and said, "Can we get your Froggies in today?" Because we had a lot of people that had signed up was waiting and hoping to get in there. And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. If we can squeeze it in for 15, 20 minutes, we can do it." So he was pretty gracious about it.
It was a fun experience. I don't know if I would ever want to do it again because it was kind of high pressure and sucked
chaotic.
It sucked the Friday afternoon away.
Sure.
So that was pretty much my major volunteering responsibility on Friday, other than the nice running errands for Kelly and Kirk.
But other than
Which
that,
is why I didn't get to tweet anything.
I kept running into the same problem I seem to always run into is my phone goes, "Oh, we're in con mode now," which means nothing's going out.
Well, yeah, and I apparently left my Wi-Fi on, and it wasn't connecting, and so it's constantly trying to connect, and then my phone died at like 4:30. The con ended at 7.
Guess what? AT&T, 4 bars, the entire con, and I sent all kinds of stuff out. I would switch carriers.
See, I have AT&T. I didn't have
Oh,
any
you
problem.
do?
It was battery problems, not...
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, if that's part of what we had is
Which is
we
funny
had our
because
Wi-Fi on.
you recently switched from Sprint to Verizon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And went to a con in a city where Sprint is the carrier because they are headquartered.
Sprint is headquartered in Kansas City. Although the old joke,
Oh, the irony!
the old joke used to be that when Comic-Con was at the old building, which literally the old, I don't remember the name of it, but the old convention center there in Overland Convention Center.
Overland Park Convention Center.
Yeah.
Is across the street from the Sprint campus, and there's no Sprint signal across
That's
the
based
street.
on the building, the aluminum.
Because of the structure of the building.
Structure of the building.
And I honestly think over the Bartle Hall may have some similar construction methods in it because
No, but I had
I
had
didn't have
4
any
bars,
problems.
So
Yeah.
that wouldn't be because you're right. When I was over at the Overland Park Convention Center in years
Everybody
past,
had problems.
I had issues. I'd have to go outside if I wanted to send any messages or even
Yeah.
get any sort of signal, even cell signal. So,
But in between
Which
doing
makes
things-
con going a lot nicer when you have cell signal. It's easier to text or
it's
call.
easier to send things out. And,
well, in contact,
Or just
each other,
contact. Yeah, contacting and coordinating makes it so much easier.
We did pick up Jewel State's autograph on Friday, and because that was kind of what we planned on doing since Mel's block of responsibility was later, or was it earlier? No, it was later, wasn't it? On Friday. Since her block was later on Friday, we thought we were going to try and get our autograph hunting done early, and kind of do what we did at Galley. Let's get everything knocked out on Friday, and then have the rest of the con will help out and here and there, and it'll be open for whatever we need to do. And then of course the planes didn't land, and so any of the people that we were directly going, oh, we got to get this person weren't there. So we kind of had to reshuffle our internal thinking as far as how that was going to work. But we did get Jewel on Friday, and then
We went through. We didn't get Eddie's from Warehouse 13, Pete. We didn't get his autograph, but we made sure to go through and shake his hand and let him know. And he had this sign up, and Sean's got a picture of it. I hope he posts. Eddie had pictures or table pictures of $10, hugs are $4,000.
then it was crossed out.
And it wrote free, and then advice $14,000, and then he crossed that out and wrote free, and then T-shirts $30 or something like that. It's like Eddie is real personable, real friendly, and just one thing Sean pointed out or mentioned was the fact that he took his chair out from behind his table and put it in front of his table and made sure that he was up front and personal with everybody that came up and got an
Yeah,
autograph.
he was never behind his
He
table.
Never.
never behind his table.
Never. He
Have you
was
ever
just-
watched Warehouse 13? If anybody who has, he
Yeah.
pretty much is Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He's
really is.
Pete.
Even maybe a little ratcheted up a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you can imagine
But
that.
just such a nice guy. We were standing in line just to be able to say, because we're both relatively new to Warehouse 13. We haven't seen, you guys have seen more of it than I have, but so we just wanted to say, hey, dude, we enjoy your work so far, and thanks so much for coming to Kansas City. Walked over, he hugged me, just right off the, dude, boom, big hug. How you doing? Hugged Mel. What's going on, guys? And thanks for coming. I'm so happy to be. I mean, he was just, now, admittedly, it was early Friday morning, so
It's easy to be cheerful.
it's easy to be cheerful the first day of
First
the
part
con.
of the con.
But just walking past him on Sunday, he was
yeah.
still up at that level, and so that was one of the coolest things when we were seeing him set up his booth, and he took that chair and moved it to the other side of the table.
I
and
didn't
went,
realize he had done that.
What are you doing? And he stayed out there. That
He
was
never
just
sat
so cool.
down. He was so energetic and outgoing to everybody that came up and.
I really hope we get him back because now I kind of want an autograph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's so cool.
I don't think he sat down.
I don't think he did either.
I don't think
yeah.
I don't think he even used the chair. I honestly think if he was at his table, he was out in front of it, pressing the flesh and walking around and with people, which was really cool. That was an impressive one
That
to
is
me.
cool.
Who else did we do? So we did something else Friday. We talked to a bunch of your artists that we get every year, and
Ari, and I finally know her last name.
Ari Monroe.
Ari Monroe. She's a very excellent artist. Every time I go to a convention, I look for her there because she is one of my favorite artists. We went and stopped by Philip Moy. He's my other artist that I collect from. I did my 2 panels in the afternoon. One was, and I want to mention this because of the gentlemen that were on the panel. It was called Comics Without Capes. And I don't get a chance to read what the discussions were about, but the panel was about the direction that comic books take and how they're no longer solely focused on superheroes, but they're branching out and discussing other things. And Doctor Who was mentioned in the comics that, you're no longer, these are talking about like real life situations and how they can take characters like in Doctor Who and put them in real life situations and see what happens. And I really I can't remember people's names, but it was just interesting to see everybody's input on the different comics and way things are going and how no longer focused mainly on superheroes, that they're branching out and discussing different things and venturing to other topics like Doctor Who. So it was awesome to be in that panel.
Speaking of Doctor Who in this con, I'm really impressed by it. I mean, if we look back to the first time we went to this con as a podcast and how little Doctor Who stuff there was in general and how much little representation there was, looking at it now, it's like you would never have known. There is so much cosplay, shirts, and merchandise that it makes me really proud.
I'll take credit for that.
I think all 3 of us can.
That's traveling work.
Yeah, that's all us.
I think fandom can take credit for that as well.
Oh, the 50th?
Purely based on purely based on us. There was, and once again,
Tons of cosplay.
my hat's off to the Kansas City cosplayers in general because they do a phenomenal job. There's so many really, really good costumes at Planet Comic Con every year.
I mean, I expected to see the most on Saturday, and there were a lot, but there was a lot on Friday too, especially of Who.
There was a lot on Friday, and a lot of Who, and a lot of diverse Who.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of Seventh Doctor, which was awesome.
Did you see the little 7th Doctor?
He won.
Did he win the kids?
He won the kids.
Yes.
He was
It's too
fantastic.
bad that went on during
Our panel.
our panel. Because
Yeah. But he won the costume contest,
that's
and
great.
he was spot on. I had a curly, I don't know if it was real hair or not, but had what looked like a curly
looked
wig
like a
on
wig,
underneath the hat. And
The vest, his one of the best vests I've seen.
But I saw several of those. 11th Doctor still very, very, very strong in representation. Not as many 10s this year.
Yeah, not
which
as many 10s.
I was a little surprised by that. I figure Tennant's always going to be a big
that
presence,
shadow on a
but-
cast so far, though.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
And I think as we get further and further away from his tenure.
His tenant year?
You could do that too. Obviously, as Capaldi comes in, we'll probably see more and more.
I was
Capaldis
surprised we
going on,
didn't see any Capaldis. At least I didn't in the costumes.
I didn't see any Capaldi.
I didn't see any.
I only saw one piece of art of Capaldi too.
But in a way, that doesn't surprise me. I think that's more of a
Understandably
sort of thing. But yeah, a lot of Matt Smiths this year, and then of course Sylvester McCoy, and I sent out the picture, and of course Glenn had to go right on the parade. That he's got the longest line of the con. He was like, well, he's the only guest there, so he's only got the...
No, he said rightfully so.
Well, rightfully. Well, yeah. And then
That's
later
what he said.
And then later he said to me, well, he was the only guest there.
Oh, that must have been in person.
You said that to me in person.
Okay.
You did. Just trust me. But here's the deal with that.
Well, I think that followed
The Star Trek actors were all
you're right. I did say that. It followed the fact
it followed
that,
the logic. There was Eddie and Sylvester. That was about it.
Yeah, nobody was there yet because they were delayed.
Oh, no, Jewel didn't get there till like 4.
Yeah, well, that's true. She was late coming in too, wasn't she? At any rate.
Sylvester's line was loaded, yeah.
His was loaded. But here's the thing, though. It was loaded most of the weekend.
Yeah, it was
every time
constant.
I went back by it on Saturday and Sunday.
It was rarely I saw it.
I never saw it empty.
No,
He
the only
always
time
had
it was
some people in that
empty
line.
is when they were shutting down the line because he was taking a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he was leaving the table, that's when it was empty. If he wasn't there.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, there were always people. Now, everybody else kind of had that ebb and flow that you get with cons where you kind of try and hit during the ebb and not the flow. Lee Majors always had a really good presence, too, it seemed like. He always had a really long
Yeah, I wish I'd
days.
have gone by and chatted with him. I missed him altogether.
I know Blake went over and talked to him.
But yeah, Friday was a really good day, and again, the redesign with the expansion that they had in Bartle Hall, I think, really benefited. It was so much
flow.
The flow was better. The
More
way
space.
things were laid out, there was a little more space,
And there was even
The
still some
aisle
room they
room.
could expand.
If-
Really?
Yeah.
within that space if they needed to.
Within that space.
So that really helped out, and I think the panels were the paneling rooms were really, really nice this year with the way they had that set up. That it was, I thought, very easy and kind of convenient to get back and put out. Of course, the Skybridge part still kind of sucks because it's in really another building, but nothing you can do with that.
You can do.
So, I mean, it was a good Friday. It was a really good kickoff, I think, to
I
the
would
way
agree.
things. It was kind of gave us that. All right, let's go. A good energy day to go out on. So. And then Saturday came.
And the chaos of Saturday.
Wow.
And the massive people. I think at least the three of us tweeted out a picture of the line outside.
Yeah,
that we saw going over the Sky
We
Bridge.
went over because Sean was able to come Saturday morning for the tour because Kirk wanted to make sure, the Saturday people who weren't there Sunday could do the tour, and Sean came on it. We were coming back from the main hall or the great room or whatever they want to call it, and my internet connection was stupid too. And I happened to be walking the skywalk, and I happened to look over with Corey, a friend of ours, and I'm like, whoa. I was I knew to the whole convention thing. I've not been to like the Star Wars conventions that you and Sean had gone to. When I looked outside,
Talk about a line.
Around the block, up the roof.
when I seen
Well, this was almost to that extent.
yeah, it was almost to the extent because from where
No.
well from my
No, I'm sorry. It was not.
No, but if you consider
It could have been down the street and around the corner, and it still wouldn't have been even close to the extent of Celebration 3.
Well, okay, maybe not, but it was a long line from inside the building.
you walking across
John
that
and I
that whole
stood on a
extent.
roof
two
in
buildings.
a line that winded like this, lapped itself
Snake-like.
like 17
We don't know
times.
how far it went.
And we were on the roof of the building in the back, and it wound down around and down some steps and down around the corner.
If it was Bartle Hall, it would have gone down along the hall, around the corner, around the backside of the building, up a flight of stairs, and then done this on the roof.
Yes,
That's
and the
where we were at in
RCA
that
Dome
line.
takes up 3 blocks, and you went 2 of it in front of the building.
That's
Sorry.
the line we
Okay.
were in.
No,
It's still the
no
longest-
line has been more massive than that one.
It's the longest
And
line.
no
that's-
time did I ever feel more guilty about accidentally getting into the line on the last day of the con, but that's a whole other story.
all right, now we know they're line jumpers.
We
In the-
technically did. Do we feel good about it? No. Did we get into the con earlier that day? Yes.
It was a case of mistaken identity.
It was a mistaken identity. It was actually it was more of a when you try to cross the stream and it's the rapids and you're really near the base or the very top of a waterfall and it continue. The water's really rough there, and if you tried to ford that river, you're not going to ford it. You're going to go on downstream. That's what happened.
We were
But
swept
with the
away.
crowd.
We were swept away. Sorry. Really derailed us there.
In the history of lines, that was the line.
All right. Well, like I said,
This one is still really.
But this one was
really
This was impressive for
when we
Planet
walked
Comic-Con.
across the skywalk there, and I looked out, I was really shocked. I was like,
And it wasn't like it was
Who
single
are the-
file either.
no, this was a wide line, and it was wrapped around the corner, going down the street to where we couldn't see it
Yeah,
no
I
more.
couldn't.
And I'm like, that's for here. Oh my, we're in trouble. So I tried to get my stupid phone to send out, the thing, and apparently it posted the picture twice. It's like once wasn't enough.
It was
But-
an impressive picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. We were like, wow.
Well, and then, so I had mentioned, because they had the news report on that morning when we were at the hotel getting ready to go, that record-breaking crowds on Friday. Well, okay, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, we'll claim it.
It's
record-
It's true.
Yeah.
Wait,
Compared to zero, it's yes.
When it's your first Friday.
Was that hype? Yes. Was it a stretch? No.
But this is the news reporting it, so record-breaking crowds of this. And
Which they were probably running our friend's package.
It might have been, because...
Did it follow a Robin around?
I don't...
A little boy.
A little boy Robin?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, not at that time anyway. Not that I saw. But because Planet Comic-Con traditionally does not announce their actual numbers. They have not, to my knowledge, ever put out, this is how many people we had show up. So we've kind of always guesstimated, just based on, well, it feels like this, based on other cons that I've been to. But they had according to the news, they had record-breaking crowds on Friday, and there was an estimated 40,000 people that were expected to show up Saturday. So I mentioned that to Kirk that morning, and he went, maybe. And then that picture came in that you took, and I showed him the picture, and he looked at it and went, holy cow! Is that here? Obviously, it's here. He can tell.
Because I sent it to Sean because I couldn't get the stupid internet to work. I'm like, look outside. And Kirk was totally amazed at how many people were in line. I'm like, we're going to be busy today.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of when the volunteers all right, let's hitch up our boots and get going. So
It was busy nonstop too, and even with the amount of people that we seen out there, though, like I said, I mean, any con, when you're going down the hallways, you have to stop and wait for someone to get out of the way, or they're going to be taking pictures. But compared to even last year, it didn't feel congested with all the people.
Bravo to
It did
to-
not feel
to-
congested.
Yeah, to the organizers of Planet Comic-Con, bravo, because by opening up that exhibit, they recognized last year how there was a congestion. And the con was phenomenal last year, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they recognized the congestion, and they recognized some of the problems. And I've always admired them for troubleshooting things from year to year. And even when they're at the con, they're very quick at
Even
getting on
during the
things
con,
and getting it solved. So kudos to them for taking up that entire convention center area that we got this year and spreading those out, because that was the thing, is that Skywalk was always busy last year, and it was wall-to-wall people, and it was the only place you could go sit and eat and do those kind of things. And then as you tried to walk through exhibitor tables, the convention has become so popular that it was elbow to elbow. And last year was only 25,000 people. So that's half of what, a little over half of what probably showed up each day this year.
Yeah.
And so by spreading that out, I never felt like I was standing behind somebody or that was just ambling around, or I couldn't get around anybody. This year there was really that kind of that more free flow.
There was
feel.
always a direction that you could take
And
to get around for
I
people to stop
certainly
and take
applaud
pictures.
them for recognizing that, and I think that layout has it down now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
and
it
especially
totally
with the
works.
addition of the more food vendors. Because that was a big problem
And
last year.
and that was another thing I want to say about Planet Comic-Con's organizers, is the fact that thank you for listening, because that was one of the things that they asked, what can make the con better next year? And one of the things that I know that they got a lot of comments on was the lack of food offers. And so they opened to every vendor station in that particular center.
And there was
open.
even some downstairs.
And then they had the little, they had ones downstairs. They had the little booths,
Kiosk kind of
kiosks.
like the nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And those lines were long again this year, but understandably
that's a con.
so, because last year it was Quiznos, and the line if you got in that line, you were going to be in it for like an hour.
Yeah.
This year, if you got in line, you maybe were there for 20 minutes. But that's because, everybody eats at noon, and that's when everything... And none of the vendors ran out of anything this year. Everywhere I went, you could get essentially what you wanted, except for Papa John's was having a hard time. In fact, I went over to get a pizza, and they were out.
I went over too.
And the
on
nuts,
Saturday.
the nut man, he kept running out of nuts.
Well, he just could not keep up with the demand. There's so many people there. I mean, whoever they contract with on those, and the nut guy's probably separate than like the
He
convention
paid to
center.
be there.
Yeah, they made bank this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no
absolutely.
doubt.
That's great.
I used an ATM today on Sunday, the third day of the con,
And it
and
still
there
had
was
money.
still money in it.
I bet they
That's rare,
refilled
too.
it.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they did, but
Each day. Yeah.
But for an ATM at a con to have money
Was it
is
on the main
unheard
floor?
of.
yeah, it was in the vendor's room.
Wow.
So
That was just
Well,
yeah.
that helps that there were more ATMs too.
Yeah, I mean this is one of those things that we've always said that we appreciate Planet Comic Con and as con goers, when a con recognizes that this is an issue, let's fix it, and they do it quickly. That's something that we notice and we love. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I don't know why I have this kind of in the back of my head. I have what I kind of like to think of as my fire escape route. Not necessarily like if there was a fire, but just okay.
I need to get someplace.
Suddenly, I'm feeling very claustrophobic. There's way too many people here. I want out of this particular space at this moment. I don't care what I'm looking at. I just want to move somewhere else. I always had that option this year, whereas in previous years at different cons, I've not had that. And so that was so appreciated, just that it was just like, you know what, I'm going to step over here for a minute, kind of re-get my bearings, and then jump back into the fray. And you could do that because there was just a little bit more space between the aisles, and it was so wonderful of a layout.
I
so
suffer
bravo
from
to that.
I mildly suffer from that, and I don't wonder what that is, where you can't be in crowds for very long amounts of times. It's not. I wouldn't call it a fear. It's just
Some people just can't handle crowds.
I can't, and it's me. I can't do it, especially if it's wall to wall and for any long amount of times. I have to go I really want to go someplace to segregate myself, and I didn't feel like I had that last year. This year, I never got to that point where I felt like I was overwhelmed and I was in a crowd for too long. And so, yeah, it was.
And that's not to
so
say
much
that it
better.
wasn't busy, because obviously
It was
it was packed.
very busy.
There
It was packed. It was very busy.
and Scott Snyder was a very good example of busy. The man was not charging anything for his autographs.
He didn't even have anything out on his table to buy. We
No,
invited
he
for
didn't.
wanting to buy something.
But his line, and this is another fabulous way of how they laid it out, knowing that Scott Snyder was going to have a big turnout.
or Tony Moore, who was on the opposite corner of him.
On the opposite corners, they had his line wrap around the backside of the curtains, away from the traffic, so as not to block the ebb and flow of the con. Yeah. So, knowing that Scott Snyder was going to be there, and knowing he was going to have a big turnout, the way they had his line hooked back behind, out of the way of the con, was awesome.
Yeah, they really did a real.
Scott Snyder writes Batman and Superman.
The Saturday I had moderator for Brent Spiner and LeVar.
The panel before us.
The panel before Sylvester McCoy. So part of the room moderator's job is to lay out the name tags for them and get their water bottles and get their chairs situated. Brent Spiner and LeVar come out there and they do this weird running across the stage, running back, running across the stage. So when they sat down, they ended up sitting in the opposite person's name. And so they went along with it and said, okay, well, I'm Brent Spiner, and it was LeVar, and LeVar's like, I'm Brent Spiner, vice versa. So that one gets done, and I know the next one is Sylvester McCoy, because I'm room moderating for him, too. And Victor is...
he's like the stage manager.
He's like the stage manager and was helping out with audio and stuff, and Sean was going to be escorting... Well, all of you guys were going to be escorting, and so when I laid the names out, I said, "Let you guys know how the names were laid out," because apparently Brent and LeVar had problems with where their names were. So, you guys came backstage, or we're going to go get him, and you came back with Sylvester McCoy. And Victor's like, okay, this is, how we're going to do it. You're gonna tell them where they're at and give them a 10-minute warning and let him know when, things are over. I says, Sylvester's not gonna stay on stage. He goes, yeah, he will. I'm like, Victor, Sylvester's not gonna stay on stage. Oh, yeah, he will. I'm like, okay. So, you guys.
So we went to pick up Sylvester McCoy. That was our first job.
We were
And
there
somebody didn't pass
on
along the
time.
message.
We were there
that
on time.
Somebody didn't say, "Oh yeah, security's escorting celebrities," like he learned with Margot Kidder.
Why didn't you think of that?
With what? With Sylvester?
You just said the
You
security
learned on Friday
was
that security was
escorting.
escorting.
I asked the person who was there. I said, "Did security come and get him?" And they said, "No."
Oh, I didn't hear you ask
I didn't
that.
know.
No, I did. No, I did ask that.
Well, we went to go pick up Sylvester,
We
and
went
he's
to
not
pick
there.
up Sylvester, and we said, "We're here to pick up Sylvester." And they said, "They already came and got him." And we went, and Sean said, "No, they didn't. We were supposed to pick him up." He says that. No, they didn't. We were supposed to pick up Sylvester. Well, he got on the little trolley and rode off.
Because they had these little goat carts that they got to ride in. Some of them.
So we all looked at each other, kind of dumbfounded, like,
Duh.
"Uh-oh, we've lost the doctor." So, well, no,
So we all
it
rushed
wasn't even
back.
at that point that we thought we'd lost him. So
Yeah.
we rushed back, thinking, "Okay, well, we'll get there, and
He's
Sylvester will be there."
backstage.
Yeah, he's backstage. And we went back there, and has anybody seen Sylvester? No, he's not here yet.
Let's go check the
no.
dressing room.
Now we
Oh,
we
no.
checked the dressing room.
Oh, he's not in there.
Not in there.
Check the dressing room, check the back hallway, check the
the
other way.
bathroom.
Yeah. Check the bathroom. No Sylvester McCoy.
We lost the doctor.
We wait a couple minutes,
So at this point,
and then I call Kirk.
Kurt?
we're looking at the clock. We're looking at what time the panel starts. We're looking at all of the stuff.
Well, luckily, LeVar and Brent went long, too.
Yes.
Looking at all the stuff that's supposed to, it's like we had one job.
That's true.
Go get Sylvester. Bring
Well,
him here.
we had two jobs. We were going to get Sylvester to the panel, and we were going to moderate this.
I felt like it was a Monty Python skit gone bad. Go get him, bring him here. Right, we'll stay here until he shows up.
So Sean runs off to see where it's going on, and Keith and I are waiting and kind of looking around. Then I finally go down the hall, and I open the door, and there comes Sylvester McCoy being escorted by security to the back, and I thought, oh, good. We haven't lost the doctor.
He's here. And so we got a chance to sit with him and talk with him a little bit beforehand, kind of give him an
Not
idea
too
of
much, though.
what we
but
were going to do.
Yeah, we gave him an idea of what was going to happen.
Apparently, Blake shook his hand, and he did the cane thing where
He did that
went
to
over.
me, too.
And then
Did he do
Blake
that
got
to
to
you?
do cane tricks with his cane.
Oh, is that
yeah,
right?
he got to twirl his cane.
Yeah, he did that. I went up to introduce myself, and I said, my name's Glenn, and I'm with Traveling with the Vortex. And I felt it go on my hand, because what he does is he hooks his cane on your arm, so you've got it, and then he does that. What are you doing with my cane? It just kind of pulls it back like you
Because when you pull
Yeah.
your hand away
It
from
was
the
fun.
handshake, all of a sudden you've got the
Yeah,
cane.
I've got
Yeah.
the cane. So he did that, and I felt it going on there, so I kind of played along with it, because I knew the shtick. In fact, that's kind of a Buster Keaton thing, which is he pulls a lot from the old days. And so he does that, and we got a chuckle out of that. And then they introduced us, and we told him kind of the things we were going to do, because we kind of had some things planned. Some of the things that, if hopefully the McCoy panel has posted before this one goes up, you'll have a chance to hear the actual panel itself. But we
think of you and we love you.
We had a few things that we had planned out, but we tried to make them look spontaneous. And so we went up on the stage, and first we ironed it out, and I said, "Now, Keith, you'll introduce."
I
and
do my normal intro.
Yeah, intro to the show. I'm going to introduce McCoy, and then Sean's going to take point. So
Ask him
things
questions.
are going well. And ask
when
questions.
did Sean get notified he was taking point, Glenn?
Twice.
When did
Twice.
Sean get notified?
Once on the phone. Well, she had asked me three times.
What time? Prior to getting there
9:30.
on
No.
stage,
On the phone, I
did
told
Sean
you.
get
I told you
notified
an
he was
hour
taking
ago.
point, Glenn?
And then, it was.
You remember
well,
that part of-
It was actually when we were going to get McCoy.
You
the
remember
first
that
time.
part of the story where we just told you about we were on our way to get McCoy? That's when Sean found out he was
So
taking
Glenn and I
point.
met up.
Sean's going to take
And
point.
was able to plan some stuff out.
Yeah. So
Get back up as you.
Planet Con, the Bartle Hall people wouldn't let me back up the street.
So anyway, so we get on stage and things are going swimmingly. Keith introduces the show. I introduce Sylvester McCoy. McCoy comes out, sits down, and Sean,
Wait.
who has
He
planned,
does this great bit.
has planned this bit.
No.
No.
McCoy
McCoy does this great
overalls.
bit. And he says to Blake, because he's still backstage, watch this. And he just sees McCoy run.
Oh,
and he
yeah,
runs
he ran around,
backstage.
back around,
and
all
we're all
the way
waiting for him
around.
to come out stage left. And he comes out stage right.
Blake has the greatest Sylvester McCoy story ever. Is that we're up on stage and you're going through.
Yeah.
Here's a man who needs no introduction, and at that moment, McCoy turns to Blake and goes, "Watch this," and takes off. Vroom! And he says it's like a cartoon character smoke trail, because he's just doing this behind the stage, and he runs all the way down to the other end of the stage. And you introduce him, and we all turn left, and there's no Sylvester McCoy.
He's gone.
Gone. And he comes up from the other side.
Yeah. So he sits down, and I think I asked him something. I asked him about Kansas City.
You asked him if it was his first time in Kansas City.
First time in Kansas City, yeah. Still trying to set Sean up to take over and ask a question. And so there's this, he talks, and then there's this little hesitation. So then Sean, who, clever as he is, I come to find out later, Matt, yes, you did get credit for this. We had staged the selfie, the ultimate selfie, which came off tremendously, I think.
Oh,
ultimately, yeah. Well,
that's the nature of a selfie.
This is Keith. This is Sean. And this is me. So,
but
anyway,
Sylvester's really good.
Sylvester point and center, which was the most important.
I'm sorry. If there was one person of the four of us that's getting in that photo, it's Sylvester McCoy.
And we wanted to try to get as much as the crowd in as possible.
And we did. We had the crowd in there well. So I think
that came genuinely. When I flipped the thing on and I hit the button and it flipped the camera mode around and he could see what was on the screen. That was a real reaction.
Animation mode.
He was really tickled by that for some reason. Like, oh look, it's a little video thing. I mean, that was the impression. I don't know. Maybe he was putting us on.
He went into animation mode.
He got really excited by that.
So Sean takes the picture, and of course we're joking with the audience. Somebody's not smiling in the back, and we're playing along, and I think the audience generally had fun with that.
Oh yeah.
But my thought was, wish Sean had asked a couple of questions and then went into that, so that we kind of would drag this out a little bit more. But you did it, and I thought, okay, that went off great. And then you sat down, and we let the crowd die down a little bit, and I'm waiting. And I'm waiting.
You make it sound like it was a pause big enough to drive a truck
through. It felt like a pause big enough to drive a truck through. And I waited, and Sean didn't go anywhere, and I realized, I don't have any questions. These are the people that want to hear from him, so I said,
let's just do it.
And the other thing that set me off was there was already lines lined up.
Yeah.
Well,
and they were going to ask questions,
yeah.
And my thought in my head is, McCoy's going to go in the audience. I don't want to let any more of these people come up to mics because they don't realize what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And I didn't want like a massively long line, and then McCoy couldn't get down through there.
And then by the time he goes out there, the room's like half full.
I said, so should we turn, the questions over to the audience, and which surprised him because I think he expected more questions from us before he went down. So he jumps up, and I said, well, unless you want to rest a little bit. And he goes, oh, no. And he goes down the stage, and he does his thing. And I look at my clock, because I've got my phone there, and realize we've only wasted 4.5 minutes. And my thought was, well, when
obviously we were not ourselves.
When we were at Gallifrey, Barnaby Edwards and Nicholas Briggs talked to him for at least 15 minutes before he went in the crowd. And I thought, here's a 70-some-year-old man that I've just sent out to cover an hour.
Who's had knee and ankle surgery.
He's going to have to cover an hour, which I don't care how much time you were giving us or if we were getting extra. I was done at 10 till because I wasn't going to let that man go any longer. Because as this is going on and he's going out and he's doing this terrific stick, and we're not going to talk about what he did much because that should be saved for the show.
We should say that he didn't stay still.
He didn't. He walks everywhere. The man works the crowd.
You can't hear that.
And I can attest to that.
He is walking around the whole time you hear him.
Here's the other half of Mel's story from earlier.
Yeah, because I can attest to that. Because I told Victor, I said, he's not going to sit still. He's, oh, yeah, he will.
Not going to stay on stage. Yeah.
Why do you think the man requested a wireless mic? They didn't think about it because they gave everybody wireless mics. But
so Sylvester jumps off the stage, and Victor looks at me and goes, "Oh my God."
Hopefully you looked at him and with that, I told you so.
Oh no, I even said it. I turned to Victor and said, I told you so. And Victor goes, Kirk, we need security.
Did we get security? I never saw them.
God love Victor because
Mel
was
security. She didn't follow him. She wasn't shadowing the man, but you could tell she was making point where she was at places where she could track him.
She was like a predator.
And honestly, I looked at her, and it was at that point it dawned on me what you were doing.
Yes.
And I realized that you were within 2 seconds of being able to tackle anybody that came near him to harm him. And I was like, you go, Mel.
from my vantage point, from our vantage point up on the stage, It was a little bit like watching Pong.
It was.
Because you were back and forth on one side of the aisle, and Sylvester would just kind of bounce around in the crowd a little bit.
It was like he was purposely avoiding you.
Well, at one point he cornered me. I'm like, ah! I felt horrible because I kept blocking people's, pictures and stuff. But it's like, Victor was flipping out.
I felt really bad for the people on the front row.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, I got front row seats to Sylvester McCoy. Oh my gosh, he's clear at the back.
Well,
Good thing we had a screen this year.
yeah, we did have a screen, and at one point, I think they gave up on the security part because I was supposed to take pictures of you guys up on the stage, and it's like, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that was in the audience.
Yeah,
They did.
thank
In Sylvester's defense, that's his stick. That's what
That's
he does.
what he does.
That's
Yeah,
his
absolutely.
thing, which
We
is
knew he was
wonderful
gonna do
because
that.
it makes it more of a personal
Kirk
experience.
knew he was gonna do
Kirk
that.
knew he was going to do it. Now,
Victor apparently.
well,
did
we
not.
warned Kirk that he was
Victor
going to
did
do
not
it.
believe he was going to do that.
We warned Kirk that he was
Yeah.
going to do it. I'm not sure Kirk even knew for certain that was
He
what.
did some Google searching and YouTubing of,
Oh, did
of
he?
his,
Okay,
his
then
videos
that's
because that's how
right.
he knew about the spoons and stuff.
But Sylvester's, this is okay. So let me go back into my story because it's now 10 minutes into this panel, and the man is spry
Two
and running.
laps.
Now this is a guy that walks with a cane. He walks with a purpose, but he's not really fast when you see him just walking normally. The whole time we were backstage, he sat. Which is perfectly fine.
He
He's
made sure to
70-some
take
years
the
old.
cart everywhere he went
took
on
the
the
cart
con.
when he went places. Okay,
He was saving his energy
all
up.
of this is
Well,
bottled up
apparently.
in my mind that I haven't seen this man walk much, and when I have, it's been slow. And even though I went to Gallifrey and I saw the man work the crowd and work we're 10 minutes into this, and that's when it struck me that Barnaby Edwards and Nicholas Briggs talked for 15 minutes. The man was in the crowd maybe 20 at Gallifrey before he went back up on stage, sat down, and they chatted a little bit, and they closed it. And my thought was, we're less than 10 minutes into this. Great. I'm going to wake up to the headlines tomorrow that Sylvester McCoy had a heart attack and died because he worked the crowd for nearly an hour. Oh, no. So I'm up there that's like on the forefront of my mind. But he did marvelous. He did. He worked
wonderful.
the crowd, and if you listen to it, we won't give away a lot of the things that he did, but he did play the spoons. Keith has the spoons here now.
He didn't stay in one spot
They
either.
were
He went
my
all the way to the
spoons.
front, all the way back,
all the way
everywhere.
front, all the way back.
And he made the wonderful comment.
The camera guy.
The camera.
poor
That's what I
camera
was
operator.
getting at.
The
Is
poor
that-
camera operator who maybe has to pan back and forth.
Left and right a little bit on a stage.
If you zoomed
For any
in on
other
this
panel.
person who's saying something, and then the other person says something, you might have to pan over to this side to get the other person, or you might zoom out.
They
a
earned
little
their
bit to get
paycheck
everybody
that
back
day.
together. That's it. Not today.
And from
And he
what I
commented.
saw, they stayed on
They
him.
did. They did a real good
They
job.
did a
of staying
really
with it.
good job.
Yeah, kudos to the camera
He
operator.
stopped and commented too. He goes, "I'm making you work for your money
He
today,
did.
aren't I?"
He looked at the camera
Yes,
and
he
said, "I'm
did.
making you work for your money today, aren't I?" So Sylvester was great, and and that was why I cut him a break, because I said a couple more questions. Even though we had 5 minutes, I was like, a couple more questions, because I thought if he'll either take two out there, or he'll realize, okay, I'm tired. He'll come back up on stage and take two from us, which was great, which actually worked.
It worked really well.
We did. I asked him one more question, I think, and then, of course, at the end, if you've listened to this, we had this planned that we wanted to be in a band with Sylvester McCoy. So,
Should we go
We
into
were
more
in a band,
detail about the band?
well, the fact that we had planned to do William Tell Overture, and just on the spur of the moment, and I had that duh moment.
So did I.
Sylvester McCoy says, "Sure, should we play the Doctor Who theme?" And I think I even hesitated for a moment, and I looked at Keith and said, "Yeah, you guys want to do that?"
I wonder why you guys had that look on your
practiced
face.
William Tell.
I wonder why you guys had that look on your face, because everybody paused.
I blamed Glenn because he came up with the idea.
I blame Glenn too, because he came up with the idea. But here's the
I
deal.
thought
When
everybody knows William Tell.
Glenn pitches the idea and
It's
says
a rhythmic song.
it's rhythmic. And
It makes
because he
sense.
says, I want
The
to
way
do
you
this, and we
pitched
can
it,
do
yeah.
the William Tell Overture. And my first thought is, we should do the Doctor Who theme.
Why didn't you say
But
something?
you sold me on it with, well, it's rhythmic and everybody knows it. And I went,
yeah.
okay. He's not going to want to
So-
do the Doctor Who theme. We'll do the William Tell
Suffice
Overture.
it to say, we launched into the worst version of the Doctor Who theme.
Did you see
I'm
the
not
look on his
sure
face?
And
I
Sylvester
recognized
corrects us.
it, and I was
Yeah.
playing it, and Sylvester tries to get us back on
Well,
task.
he does get us back on
and
task.
ultimately, at the very end, we learned that we need to leave the music to the musician,
Yeah.
and we need to stay out of it.
Yeah, the look on his face was priceless when he heard your guys' not harmony at all.
Now, keep in mind.
So we weren't trying to do harmony. We were all trying to do the melody.
Yeah,
Here's the
he
thing.
could tell.
Here's the funny part of this. What were we playing? We haven't told them that yet. What were we playing?
Well,
What
if they-
instruments?
Kazoos.
We were on kazoos and
The
couldn't get it right.
easiest instrument to play. All you have to do is
Blow.
hum.
No, you don't.
So-
Yeah,
You don't blow,
Blow?
on it.
You don't-
Everybody
okay.
keeps saying
Blow.
it. He said, well, you just blow on it, right? No, you hum. You just hum and blow. No, there's
and
no
blow.
blowing
Hum and blow.
involved. You just hum.
Apparently, I haven't played a kazoo in a really long time.
So only here at Traveling the
I
Vortex.
had to teach
Glenn,
Sean McKee how to play kazoo.
Glenn pitched this bit as we're going to be remembered as the guys that did this with
Oh,
Sylvester.
we're remembered now. We're
Now-
remembered as the guys that
who screwed it
botched
up.
the Doctor Who theme.
They're a great Doctor Who podcast.
You know what? I'm glad. I'm still glad we did it. I think it came off memorable, despite how poorly we played. And I hope everybody
Hopefully
enjoyed it.
they remember
because
the last end of it instead of the first end.
well, I don't even think thinking back
his
through
reaction.
thinking back through. You mean the beginning of the bit or the beginning of the convention?
beginning
You know
of
what?
it.
Or
No,
beginning
the
of
bit,
panel?
the bit.
Yeah, the bit.
Yeah.
No, I
his
think it went
reaction
was
I
priceless.
think made it up.
priceless.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And we should excise this bit from the show and just say we planned it. We should just roll with it and say we were.
It wouldn't be traveling the vortex if we didn't screw something up.
We've never not aired our mistakes in the past. Why not?
I might add that
I felt good about it after we were done. Even
I did
though
too.
it was there were
because
missteps
we
in
got
that
there.
part. It was great, and it really didn't hit me until I got on the road that night. That wow, we just hosted the panel with the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy.
We're out to dinner. Like what? I'm going back to look and see what time it was. 9 something probably, and I get a text from you saying we just hosted a panel of the Sylvester McCoy. It was like 9 o'clock.
It started to sink in on the drive home.
8:47.
It hit me when I got home and we were putting the kids to bed. Well, we were putting Mason to bed. Caitlin went to a sleepover. And we were putting Mason to bed, and I sat down and I was reflecting on my day, and I went, wow. Wow. And actually, what had happened is I got home and I looked at Facebook and I saw all the posts of the panel, and then
And then the pictures of us.
Okay, so a couple things on
and
that real
that's what
quick.
it looks like from that side of the table, because it looked completely awkward and different to me on the other
Well,
side.
and I noticed throughout the entire panel, we sat down and it was like, 3/4 full. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a kids' costume
We
contest
should
going
talk
on.
about that. We weren't even 3/4 when we sat down there. We
No.
were a little less than half, but there were still people coming in, so it was encouraging. But I
2/3
sat there and
probably.
I thought, oh man, all of these panels have been stocked, and we've this is Doctor Who, and so I was like, it's gonna,
And we're
it's gonna
and
there's gonna be more people,
here's-
and I really half expected that we'd get a little more than half.
Here's the deal.
I expected
First
about
of all,
2/3,
People
honestly.
kept
This is a
coming
big
in.
room.
This is huge. This
You
is
should
a
have seen
huge
all
ballroom.
3 of us tweeted the picture
Yeah,
from our point of
it
view.
is huge.
This is a huge room, first of all, to start
And
with. Secondly, when you're in
even
there and you're
wider.
backstage and you see it full of people for LeVar Burton and Brent Spiner,
Yeah.
it's huge.
And it was at capacity. They weren't
Full
letting
of
any more
people.
people in.
no,
Okay.
we blocked off the access and said go away.
So then when you initially come out for Sylvester McCoy, and it's that somewhere between half, 3/4, mark.
2/3.
There's a little disappointment, but you rationalize it by going, it's not Next Gen.
Right,
It's
right.
not Brent Spiner.
It's
and
a
LeVar
British
Burton.
show.
It's a British
that a lot of
show, and
Americans
it's
are
Sylvester
coming
McCoy,
to.
and okay.
Most
Seventh
people
Doctor,
might
it's
recognize
not
him more as
Tom Baker,
Radagast
you
than the
know.
Doctor at this point
Yeah, absolutely.
in America.
I want to talk about that too. But so you get out there, and then we launch into it. We start doing our stuff, and the room kept filling,
Just kept filling and
kept
filling and filling.
kept filling, and was
And
100%
I was,
full.
and,
And we
and
were
standing
lining
room
the
only
walls.
because I was beaming by the and this was only 15, 20 minutes in. So we went from just like a little over half full in that 10 or 15 minutes. Now again, the kids' costume was going on at that time. I think a lot of people were filling in. There was probably
It looked like a couple kids
LeVar
from the
Burton
costumes
and
ran
Brent
over.
Spiner went over, and so a little bit. So they had to clear that room and bring people in. They clear it. They weren't clearing it.
They weren't
anyways,
clearing it, yeah.
But the room had to clear itself and come in.
For the new people to come in.
And we kind of got they kind of got us out there started early, and I think we were the chance to get maybe things back on schedule because I think all the other panels had been kind of going.
Ironically, we were the last one into the costume
which
contest, so
is
we
funny.
could have started
we
late
could have
and
done
gone
whatever we
long.
wanted. And so,
Would have been a normal podcast for us.
part of me wonders is when he got off that stage and went in the crowd that there was maybe a buzz that went down the hall that, hey, Sylvester's down there and he's working the crowd, and people kind of came to see what was going on. So I don't know. I was on stage.
I don't know either. I was chasing Sylvester all around the room.
Suffice it to say, I had a blast.
Oh,
and I
me
think
too.
that was such an incredible experience for us. And despite the fact that we had little interaction or anything to do with it, I was proud to be a moment of that and proud to be on sharing the stage with the Seventh Doctor. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Would I do some things differently? Yes, but yeah,
We'll
came
I
off
wouldn't be
well.
traveling
It
the Vortex
came
if
off
we
well.
didn't.
We'll
It
plan
came
for
off
next
well.
time.
It came off well.
First of all,
well, it wasn't for lack of trying.
huge thank you to Kirk.
Yes.
And
Chris
Planet
Jackson.
Comic-Con and Chris Jackson for allowing us the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
That was huge. And secondly,
Thank you to Sylvester for allowing us to record the panel.
yes.
He agreed to
Yes.
Thank you to Sylvester for that. Thank you for Sylvester for being just an awesome guy, a good
was
sport,
a
and
good-
willing
he was
to
a good
kind of
guy.
we can do that. Yeah, we can do
Real personal too, because when actually after the panel was over, we were sitting out back because they were trying to round
trying to
up
get a cart for him.
the transport for Sylvester to take him back, which I was really hopeful that we'd find something because the man had just ran around a room for an hour.
He seemed kind of tired.
He was, Keith, unfortunately, you went off to help to find it. And Keith and I actually stood there and had a
We got to
conversation.
talk
and
with
Mel,
him, and
well,
Mel.
with his
agent.
and Sylvester, we all had this nice little conversation going. Although you guys started talking to the agent gal, and you guys were having your own conversation, and Keith and I were having a conversation with Sylvester, and he's a real personable man.
Oh, he's
and a
really
joy
nice.
to talk
Patricia.
to.
Patricia.
Joy to talk to.
Patricia Arthur is Sylvester's agent. She was a joy and a wonder, and we have her contact information. And a little bit that I can leak now is that for those of you that are listening, Sylvester is planning a U.S. tour that he is going to be going on, and he's going to be hitting a lot of different cons around the area. And Patricia is going to be sending us information on that. We'll contact her and make sure that we get it. So that as soon as it's finalized, we will let all... And I'm sure it may come hot on the heels of other cons announcing it. I don't think it's going to be exclusive or anything. But we will make sure to let you guys know so that if you have the opportunity and Sylvester's coming to an area near you, go see him. because
One of them
he's
is
that
part
guy.
of that tour is the Salt Lake
Is the
one.
Salt Lake one that Chris
and Concastaboris, I believe, has him this year
I think that's correct.
in Alabama. So that's all part of the same tour.
Yeah. So definitely thank you to her as well. And thank you to our friends that showed up. I don't know if you guys noticed this in that kind of wave
We had a
of...
cheering section there in the middle.
We had a cheering section. We came out and people like screamed. We were like traveling the vortex. People were like, ah! And I was kind of like, who the hell here knows
We
us?
had a cheering section in the middle. We said, we're traveling in Vortex, and then there was this cheer, and I thought,
Are we in the right place?
where are we?
Sarah afterwards.
My thought was, are these people that would show for
Funniest-
anybody?
Funniest thing afterwards, Sarah was like, "You guys got a really great reception. I love you guys, but I didn't think anybody knew you."
It's like, not like we got up there and said,
We
St.
didn't
Demas
either.
Road School football rules. You know, it wasn't anything like that.
No, I mean, but there was a rise. People got
was.
and
I like to think part of it is my enthusiastic introduction.
I will we'll go with that.
Well, personally, I think Ben Buckles, he was in the audience
Ben,
there. He was
there.
Kelsey and Kellen.
Kelsey and Kellen were in the audience
My
there.
friend
Sarah
Steve
and
Hilton
Mike.
was there.
Steve was
Colton
there?
was there.
Oh, terrific.
Colton was there.
Oh no!
Matt.
This is what they
Matt
warn you on
Quick.
Oscars: is you should never start naming people because you.
Those
won't
were the
forget.
only people I saw.
I would like to thank everybody in that
Blake
audience.
was in the background. I honestly didn't even see where Sarah was sitting in the audience.
I didn't recognize a face because it was one big blob of people.
The people we know that were in the audience were people that came to us afterwards.
Ben got in our picture.
Did he?
Yeah, he posted it on his page, and he kind of directed where they were in the picture. So for the tweet that we did,
the selfie.
so that
Nice.
was fun.
But thank you to Mel for doing a great job room monitoring, because that was a tough job, and you did it well. And then thank you to Matt Quick, who came along and volunteered on.
He was pretty much our audio guy.
And so helped us out for the audio. And then once Mel got bounced over to playing Pong with Sylvester, Matt jumped on the camera. And so we have a little bit of video segments that hopefully we'll be able to put together.
Which we got one posted, cell phone video.
Of him playing the spoons.
Of playing the spoons.
That's
and
mine.
Yeah, yours.
Was, yeah.
Sarah got video of the kazoo, and I'm working on getting off of the kazoo bit. I'm working on getting that off of the camera, her phone.
So look for that.
So hopefully this will be a well-documented event. But again, thank you so much to everybody for just being there and supporting us and Sylvester and making this a great con, because it was just a phenomenal. And quite honestly, I don't remember much of the rest of Saturday because of that high.
Well,
unfortunately,
and I didn't do much else after that.
I didn't either. In fact, I left because my kids were tired because we got up early. So we actually hit the road and came back. And then I came back on Sunday by myself. And actually today I had a light schedule. So I actually got to finally walk around. Because with the kids, you can only walk so much in the exhibition hall because the artists, they don't care that much about them. Some of the
The vendors
the vendors are more up their light because they have toys and things that they're familiar with, shirts. Some of the artists in Artist Alley, which it's fine. They're geared towards, some of the pictures are geared towards older kids and adults, and it's some of those things. I'm not talking about adult content. I'm talking about just scary imagery.
Oh, okay.
Scary
like the zombie ones and stuff like that.
Caitlin can handle, but Mason he doesn't need to take that home at night. So we kind of stay out of that area, and then we went over to our table in the cosplay for a little bit. I should say on Saturday, kind of our. I hate to say this because it's almost like my little secret right now, but it's not a secret. It's just a best kept secret. The gaming room, which they expanded this year and they put in a perfect location, by the way, because last year because of the situation, got tucked in the back of the Great Hall, and so it was very inconvenient and difficult to get to. And I don't think a lot of people knew about it. So situated where it was this year, in front of the Great, like the rooms that
by flipping it and putting it right up front,
it was noticeable, and I think
room.
they probably got more people. And this is where we were talking about. That group, that CantsCon, that they did a gaming library, and essentially they've done this for years. Yeah. There's been a gaming library as long as I've been there. The idea is that you can go over there and they just have a plethora of games, and you can check them out by giving your driver's license, and they hold on to it while you take the game out. And you can explore and play and gather people, and it's a great little meeting area.
It's a really
to do
clever
that.
idea.
It is, and when you've got kids my age, or the kids that are their ages that I have. It's perfect to go in there and take a break because not only are they have things like Munchkin and Settlers of Catan and all of these different, kind of what you
Uno,
the gaming,
the geek niche games.
Yeah,
they also have Uno. They also had Sorry Sliders. So it was an opportunity to take my kids in there and kind of get a break and sit down and
entertain them.
Not to mention, it's not an overly crowded room. So if you're one of those people like me that you can only tolerate being in heavy crowds for very long. It was a nice place for me, kind of a sanctuary for me to go get away from that, not be around that, gather my thoughts, do some Twitter, things like that. So that worked out really well. So kudos to them for doing that every year, because I think that's a great idea. Not only does it get you away and get you off your feet for a little while, get you a break, it also allows you to discover some new games.
Yeah.
It allows you to take those games and sit down, and there's people there that will help you. In fact, they had one table in the center where a guy was running a game, and I forgive me for not knowing what game that he was running, but he was running a game where you could come in there, get sit down and figure out this game, and he had a sign saying, "Sit down, we'll teach you this game."
And there were several gaming booths in the floor, so you could go learn a game and then go buy one.
Yeah, if you found a game that you liked, you could turn around and go in the exhibition hall. So
really,
kudos
really
to them, and
that's
the CantsCon guys. I can't thank you guys enough for doing that every year, because it's tremendous. Caitlin actually looks forward to that now, because a few years ago when it was at the other location,
I remember you sitting over there.
We went over there and we checked out Jumanji and one other. I think we did Jenga the first time. And then Jumanji, which is an old board game. It was based on the movie that's based on a book. But Caitlin loved the movie at the time, and she connected to that. And so we played that, learned how to play it. It was a lot of fun. And this year it was good because they have games that are Mason's age as well. So we played Uno, things that he was familiar with. So it worked out really well. And it gave me a chance to sit down and charge my phone a little bit because there's electricity.
Well,
in
and
that
just
room.
nice to get off your feet for a little bit too.
It is, and again, for me to get
Yeah.
away from those crowds.
That was my problem, is that every time I would get to a moment where I could sit down for a second, I could feel all of the energy seeping out of my feet. And then it would pretty much be, I better get up because I'll stop moving at this point.
It's funny. It got to the point where if I needed a break, I said, I'm going to the game room. And by the end of the con, you both knew that if you couldn't find me, check the game room.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's in the game room.
We walked the floor a little bit after our panel because Sarah's brother came, Mike. It was his first convention ever. He was really impressed by Sylvester.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he commented several times to me how impressed he was by Sylvester, and then also LeVar and Brent. And so we made sure he kind of walked the floor and kind of soaked everything in and enjoyed everything and didn't really get to do any shopping. So Sunday, we kind of took it easy and came down late and only stayed for a couple of hours and did a couple things and did some shopping and called it good.
Sunday was my wind down day because having the panel and having the kids on Saturday, I didn't take a lot of time for myself. So today was my day to kind of come and of course Mel was surprised because I caught up with her first because you were still stranded at the hotel, and she was surprised that I hadn't seen a lot of that stuff over in that one corner of the building.
Oh, there was a lot of stuff I hadn't seen.
The
nice thing
artist
is,
alley.
yeah, and when you come early, as they're letting people in, you have a good 40-minute window there of not a lot of traffic, and Sunday morning even more so because I think people come later on Sunday because they've done 2 days of con
Well,
and
and
they
the
might just have a few things to do.
The artists
Like an
get
hour
there
later, too.
earlier
They do
than
get
what
there
the
earlier.
vendors do.
And
Because,
so,
Well, and they really don't take their stuff down either.
no.
Because there's not really anything to steal or anything.
right.
So
So it was nice to go back there and kind of take my time, be able to look around. Mel kind of accompanied me and kept me company while we were over there, and I think I kept you company but of course, I'm over there encouraging you to buy things too. So I was having her
I
spend
found
money.
a perfect time.
But I got a chance to do that and got your cup. You talk about your cup. We walked over there. I'm going to take a little bit of credit for this because we walked over there.
I really hadn't. I told you we've been busy the whole weekend.
You saw the cups and you went, oh. And I think the first thing on your mind was, I need a cup for my tea. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Will it, hot or cold, will it work? So we asked her and she checked and she looked in the thing. And Mel was still kind of like, not certain that she was going to get this cup. And I said, Mel, it's got a unicorn on it. And it's purple. And I think I sold her on it. She went, yeah, you're right. I want to get that cup. So she got the cup. And then she, of course, got a picture of it with it. It's the stuffed unicorn that's on it. I got the impression these are unicorns that this was her thing, this gal.
That she makes and stuff. Yeah,
nice.
I think it's her line of stuffed animals that she creates. I think she makes characters or a story or a background too. So yeah, but it's a unicorn that's a wizard on a purple
that
cup.
was the other thing too. Yeah,
so it's not My
Because
Little Pony.
I said it's a unicorn on a purple cup, and it's right up your alley. And then the lady says, "Yeah, this is," and she said the name of the unicorn, and then she goes, "It's a wizard," and I went, "And it's a wizard."
Considering I'm getting Gandalf tattooed on my back. Yeah.
So that was neat. And then
Gandalf and Falcor.
I got a chance to catch up with some old friends that I hadn't seen in a while, which was fun. And walked around, got all the things that I want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Also, got to go to the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show, which I've heard wonderful things about. Now, I saw him last year at Gallifrey, not this year, last year at Gallifrey when we were there. I saw him there wandering around, but he didn't have his show at that point. And it wasn't until this year when you guys went that he actually, and that was only his second time.
And guess
Well,
what?
he was
I
at the
got to moderate that
50th
one.
anniversary that we went to.
This is
the sad thing is that I've seen him at Galley. I've seen him at the 50th. I've seen him at Galley. I've seen him at Planet Comic Con. I have yet to see his show.
Oh, Sean, you didn't even see the show.
I didn't see the show either because we.
So good.
I got to
What'd you
see
think?
it.
What'd you think, Mel? Wasn't that a blast?
Mike's
so
amazing.
funny.
Mike is Horner, I believe is his last name, Horner, and he's the man's a genius. I mean, to come up with the idea of doing a puppet show about Doctor Who in the TARDIS, that's the tent that the puppets are in, was ingenious. I mean, I helped him clear. He said, "Well, we're going to have to take the tables off the stage," and I'm like, "Okay, this is new. This is not something I normally do as a room monitor, but okay, we'll do that." And it was ingenious, and he was interactive with the audience.
The man
too,
is
and-
engaging, and by the end of this thing, he got a standing ovation from a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The man he's good at his trade, he's good at his craft. I don't want to give away too much because a little show that Sean kind of teased last week, we did get some interviews this weekend that we're going to include in our fan show next weekend. So I don't want to give too much away, but he'll talk a little bit more about it. But the audience loved him.
Oh, yeah.
I got the impression that they just absolutely loved him.
I was room monitor for that room, and I had to keep telling people, you can't stand in front of the door, fire hazard, get away. You know, and we had people were lined up, and at one point in time, I had a gentleman who, I'm not sure who he was, he came up to me, he says, we got a problem here. I'm like, okay, sir, what's the problem? Eddie McClintock's panel next door keeps hearing your guys' panel. It's like, oh,
well, good.
Sorry.
I feel bad for Eddie that he was skipping again.
Because I met Eddie and gave him a hug and stuff. I was like, so I called Kirk and I said, Kirk, we have a problem. Apparently, timey-wimey is spreading, and causing problems with the audio next door. And he says, we know, and we're looking into it. Kirk, the Superman that he
There's
is.
nothing he could do because it would be the audience, wouldn't it?
Well, they closed the doors, and that was the first time I'd seen the doors closed in any of the panel rooms. They finally closed the back doors.
They were closed when we were waiting outside
And
opened them because there were so many people outside. I think that they
the
closed
reason-
them.
Oh, so then I must
And the-
have slipped
and the
in
panels
before they
before-
closed. Because,
Yeah. Well, no, the panels.
that's
the
right.
panels
they were.
before.
We were probably being noisy in the hallway as well.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're right,
what
they
I'm
were
saying.
closed
And that's
down.
the reason why, because I moderated the room before that, too, and the reason why he closed them up is because Kirk quickly discovered that there was a line because of Sean. He says he says, well, there's people lining up outside.
We were. I was escorting. Well, the reason I couldn't do the timey-wimey is because I had to escort the Blue Power Ranger,
David Yost.
Thank you, from his table to the panel room. He was there. He came with me. He did not get lost. So it took till Sunday, but I got one right.
So you lost Lois Lane.
That
You
one wasn't my
lost
fault.
The Doctor.
That one wasn't my fault either.
But your third try was a success.
The third try was a success.
It's because it was a blue
I'm
Power
sorry,
Ranger.
Power Ranger fans, but of all three of those people to lose, I wouldn't have cared so much about the Blue Power Ranger.
Did Blake
Sorry,
help you
Chrissy.
escort
Sorry,
him
Britt.
there?
Well, I happened to run into Blake,
It's
and
Blake then.
Blake's going on and on and on about, look what I got in this cool art. And I was like, Blake, I love you. I'm actually working right now at this moment. Do you want to come with? And he said, oh, yeah, okay. So what are you doing? I'm going to go get David Yost. And he went, oh, okay. Because Blake's a huge Power Ranger fan.
He had mentioned to me before, like when we got our assignments, that he was jealous of you that you were escorting.
So
the
yeah,
Power
it just
Ranger.
happened to work out. I was like, well, come on, let's go get him. So we went and got him, and I made the joke with David Yost. It was like, well, I brought some extra muscle just in case we needed it. And of course, the guy, knows karate and Power Ranging stuff. So
Power Ranging stuff.
he fights evil.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't need my help. But we're going to get him across the thing. So we went and we took him down to the thing and delivered him safely, and everything was good to go. And we started to walk back. And I said, you know what? I want to duck downstairs real quick and check on Mel, just to kind of see how things are getting ready to go down there. So we went. As we were bringing him in, there was this line of people. And I went... Because we had to walk past that line to get down. What are these people doing here? And I noticed that the line goes down the stairs, and all of them are Doctor Who. They're all dressed. They're all cosplaying. And I went, oh, this is the timey-wimey puppet show. So we dropped David Yost off, and I went back, and Kirk happened to be somewhere, and he's like, oh, we're doing the blah, blah, blah. And I said, you're going to want to head downstairs because they're going to be at capacity. And he went, really? Whoosh, and flew off.
And I hadn't paid attention to what was going on outside because I was listening. Sorry, it wasn't interesting. It was DC. It was Scott Snyder and some of
he
the,
was in that panel. Dang it!
some of the other writers for DC.
DC
and
Universe
I
Best
was,
of the Best.
Best of the best.
I was totally engrossed, in their panel and making sure that the exits and stuff weren't blocked and that they had water and whatnot. So I wasn't paying attention to the doors and the noise that was going on outside because everybody could still hear, and so it wasn't annoying. And it wasn't until Kirk flew in. Yeah, he
Superman
did.
he is.
He did. He flew in. He says, "Yeah, we're going to have people exit through their front door." I was like, "Why?" He says, "Look outside."
Okay.
Holy smokes!
Here's my end of it. I'm standing out there talking with actually, I was trying to set up another interview for next week's show, and I'm talking with them, and
then we meet up with
there's
friends.
a lady that came up in the middle there of this line that was on both sides of the hallway out there. And she comes up and she says, this line over here, she's trying to be helpful, it's for the timey-wimey puppet show. And this line over here is for, who was in the other room?
It was Eddie.
Eddie
McClintock.
Eddie McClintock.
So the entire line.
The entire line went, no, this is timey-wimey, we're wrapped around.
Somebody
it
came
was
up
at
to
that
me and
point
asked
that I
where
went,
he was. I was like, I think it's in the
wow.
corner.
So that was my view of, oh, this room's going to be full.
How full was the David Yost panel? I'm curious. When you left and when you came to pick him back up?
When we left, there were probably 50 to 100 people in the panel in the Great Hall. When we came back, it had filled to probably about half, not quite half.
But I can't remember how the Great Hall holds.
I don't know how
500?
many.
More than that.
See, yeah.
So it might
Twice
have been about the same amount that was down in the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show.
There
then.
was at least 1,000 seats in there.
Oh yeah. Well,
Now,
people were
in
standing
fairness, because
too.
I know several of our listeners are Power Rangers fans, whereas I never watched the show. I got kind of a crash course on it from Blake during this time frame. David Yost was a wonderful guy, first and foremost,
sure
and
he is.
I in a way I feel very bad that he didn't get a bigger turnout. I mean, we did have Zach, who's the Black Power Ranger last year,
yeah,
and so we've had the blue one this year. And apparently, there's not a lot of them that tour, and
there's
we've lost one, and
we've lost one, and then the other one's doing Wizard World.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be the last gasp with the Power Rangers because we'll never get the green. He's tied up with another contract at another con and certain things like that. But I kind of thought, after the success of one, you would have thought that would have kind of carried over.
I think he kind of got robbed.
I think he did too.
But
really.
I think it was just an unfortunate paneling, scheduling.
And the gentleman that came in, and I don't know who he is or how he's associated to the con, he says, one of the comments that he made that he says, well, they have like 4 different things scheduled at the same time, and he says, and how do people choose which one to go to?
Yeah, I mean, here's the listing.
If you're not
David Yost, Timey-Wimey Puppet Show, Eddie McClintock, So You Want to Build an R2 Unit, and Cosplay, Photography, and Modeling.
It doesn't matter how small or how big the con is.
Yeah.
If you've never been to a con before, you have to be flexible. Your schedule is always in flux. You prepare for you look at and you prepare for the things
And
you
you
want
have
to
plan
do,
B.
and then you have plan B for everything because you will not get to everything you plan
Nope.
for
Can't
because
get to
there will
everything.
always be conflicting things.
Nope.
And you pick the one that you want to do.
I
the
feel
most
bad
when you get to it.
other than our panel, that's the only one I sat in on.
Yeah, I didn't get to any others than Timey-Wimey Puppet Show. I did come in and sit in on the DC thing for about 10 minutes and then realized my camera wasn't working right, so I had to go somewhere to fix it because it was making noise as I was trying to fix it. So.
I bet you went to the game room.
There was a couple I was planning on going to, but I was volunteering also. So.
Well, when Kurt came in and said, okay, we shut the doors because the people that are lining outside are for the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show, he said, so when DC Comics is done, tell Snyder and them that we want to exit through the front door. Well, a bunch of the people had flew up and started talking to Scott Snyder and Paul and them. And
It's hard to clear a room when
and
you're
hard to
Yeah.
clear
or let
a
a
room.
room to clear.
Kurt finally got up on the microphone and says, people, if you were here for the previous panel, please leave now.
The first time they cleared a room all weekend.
Because we had so many people that an influx of people that were trying to come in through the front doors, and they were still huddling around that we had to push everybody out because the amount of people that wanted to come in.
Well, and we went back up and walked the floor a little bit. And when we came back down, I was keeping track of time so I could come back down and help you with what the interviews and whatnot. And I guess it ended a little earlier than what was in the schedule.
Probably did,
And
because
I
I didn't
did-
feel like it was a full hour.
They're
show.
supposed to be 50 minutes, but it felt like it was like 45.
It probably
Well,
was.
Mike said,
45.
and I talked to Mike before, and I says, what I'm going to do, and I told all my panels this, is that because they're only 50 minutes long, and that 10 minutes is built into the schedule to give people time to get out,
Get in and
people
get out.
time
Yeah.
to get in, and for the room moderator to set things up. And I told him, I says, every one of my panels, I'll give you guys a 10-minute warning when you got 10 minutes left of your panel, and then a 5-minute warning. And we'll cut people lines off, about the 5 minute and give you 2 more people, in line to answer questions. And Mike looked at me. He goes, the puppet show's only about 40 minutes long. He says, I think I'll be okay.
And the mass of people that were leaving afterwards, I looked at Sarah and I was like, I guess it's over.
Well, the gentleman there, they had, I don't know if they contracted or, whatever, had somebody, but there was a gentleman that had a camera that was running in most of the panels.
Yeah, in all the panels.
In all the panels. And he normally sits at the back of the room, but because the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show is pretty much focused and it's Mike, in a tent with his puppets, he brought the camera up to the middle of the thing. And I told him, I says, okay, you're not going to want to leave that camera there when these people exit. So as soon as Mike's like, oh, thank you, and he standing ovation and stuff, the man literally had to grab his can and run to the front because it was like,
So after all this, yes, it was a big show. There was a lot of people in there.
Here's
You
the
can't
lesson
understate
to
how
learn.
many people there were.
What else did you guys do?
Well, here's the lesson to be learned. So
Yeah,
we
I was
had
all
Daphne
exhausted.
Ashbrook last year. We had Doctor Who guests, and we filled the panel hall.
Yeah.
We had Sylvester
No,
McCoy.
wait. We had Josh Adams.
Yeah, we
After
filled
that,
we filled
and
that room
filled
too.
the hall.
And filled that. Doctor Who artist. We had Sylvester McCoy, the Doctor, filled the panel hall. We had the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show and filled the hall. I think that we can
Doctor Who is
safely
relevant
say
at Planet Comic-Con
that
now,
Doctor
yeah.
Who has
It
a
may have
presence.
taken 50
does.
years,
Well,
but
and-
now we're big in
it's
the
really
U.S.
Kirk walked up to me. He goes, I am so tickled pink. When he looked out, and he was taking pictures, and I'm sure if you look at Kirk's website or whatever, he'll see pictures.
Yeah.
He was up there taking pictures of the Timey-Wimey Puppet Show audience and stuff because he was just tickled pink to see that many people, that room packed.
So
Well, I think it helped too that he had the booth set up with Puppet Show at noon on Sunday because
Yeah.
the booth was there all
it's
3
been
days, but the
advertising
Puppet Show wasn't.
for 3.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right.
They may have to add a second show next year, but
Yeah.
But more from him next week, and
from him next week.
hopefully, providing it recorded. And then the rest of my day was just I finally got to go meet one of my idols. John Ratzenberger was there, and I went up there, and I got my Cliff Clavin photo off the table, which I had that moment of maybe I should have printed one. Maybe they won't have those. Maybe they'll think it's a geek convention. They'll have all these Star Wars ones and Pixar
Did they
ones.
have Star Wars ones?
They did. They had Star Wars
Okay.
ones. They had Pixar
No one
ones.
shot of him.
And then they had 3. Well, no, there were 3 shots. There's
Was there
that
3
one
shots?
face shot you saw on the cards a lot
Okay.
of and in fact, the
That's
TCG
probably the one I
had
would've
that
gone.
one
Yeah,
shot
the
of him
TCG
as
one.
well. Which if I'd have been thinking, I'd have taken a TCG card and have signed it. And then there was
but
a
you
bunch
wanted
of
you
Pixar
wanted
ones.
it. You wanted a Cliff Clavin.
Well, but I might have done 2 if I'd have brought the card and thought, because that would have been unique. But that's what happened. Is I walked up there and I passed the Star Wars pictures because I'm a Star Wars hunter, a Star Wars autograph hunter. But I passed up those pictures and I went to the Pixar ones and I passed up the Pixar ones and I went right on down to the 3 Cheers photos that he had. And I picked my Cliff Clavin. Actually, I thought about it for a minute because there was a Cliff and a Norm. And I thought, God, when am I ever going to see George Wendt to get that signed? Because if I don't get that signed in some way or another, I would feel bad that I've got it up on the wall. And I thought, you know what? Here's the justification. I get one Cliff Clavin. Eventually, if I get George Wendt, then I put them on the wall together next to each other. So I grabbed mine and I walked up there and I said, you know what? I'm a Star Wars fan and I'm a Pixar fan. But I said, this is the reason I'm here, is for this guy. And I pushed the picture over there. And he goes, thank you. And we talked a little bit about the Boston accent because I asked him, I said, where are you from? And he said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but in Connecticut. And I said, so being from kind of that area, the accent come naturally? He says, well, it's just no, because there's a lot of variance in the Massachusetts accent, especially in Boston. And he said, I kind of did I can't remember if he said Manchester area or something like that with him in, but he launched into his Cliff Clavin. And I went,
You got
I had
a
a
treat.
big old smile on my face. And I said, well, then, and of course I talked a little bit about him. I said, well, I noticed in the beginning of the series that Cliff's accent is very, very pronounced and strong, but then it kind of gets a little less, a little more subtle as it goes along. And I said, was that just something from doing it so many years? He said, no. He said, actually what they did is they came to me and said, you've got to rail it back because there was people having a hard time understanding because the accent was so precise and thick Then he said, they said, you'll kind of have to back off it a little bit so the people can understand what Cliff is saying. So
That's awesome.
But we chatted for a little bit about Cheers and of course, a few other things that he did. And then I thanked him for his body work and got out there. And I was just elated because, Cheers is my thing. That is the best television comedy, television sitcom ever, in my opinion. I to this day, they talked about binge watching. Cheers is one of my ones that I could never get tired of. Cheers. There's some people that can watch Friends over and over again. There's people that watch Seinfeld over. I watch Cheers. If I'm not doing anything or if I'm cleaning or doing, I'll fire it up on Netflix and watch it. Just let it play because I know the jokes, I know the laughs, but they're just funny every time. It's a timeless show, in my opinion. And to finally meet one of those people from that show was just a real treat to me. So I want to thank Planet Comic-Con for bringing him because I know the idea as well. He was in Star Wars. We'll get him there. No, he was Cliff Clavin.
And Ratzenberger is so cool. We were walking the floor, so was he.
Oh, is that
we
right?
bumped into him walking the floor.
Very cool. Very cool.
And Blake was able to caught him and was like, "Hey, Mr. Ratzenberger, thanks for being here." Shook his hand and he was like, "Yeah, thanks," and just kept going.
Cool, very cool. So
Just
real
very
personal
cool,
guy
yeah.
too. And then, anything else from you guys before we launch into Trektacular?
We
bowed out.
Have you told him about our stories yet? Oh, good. They'll be new to you.
Oh, yeah.
We got treats.
Yes.
So we got Shatner.
Okay,
Shatner's
wait.
here.
That was after we got done with our...
Yeah, by the way, Shatner was at the concert.
On top of everything else, there's the cherry.
I only saw him once.
Sarah and I made a point of going by
Well, I
to
saw him on
see him
stage.
at his table, signing autographs and stuff.
Well, Shatner was only going to be there Sunday only.
That's the only
Sunday.
But, yeah, sorry, guys.
Shatner is Sunday only.
Why? You don't have to apologize.
I'm
I do that all
tired.
the time when we say Sunday. Sunday.
So after we got done with our...
It's a requirement, isn't it? What day is it? Sunday. Sunday. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, we got...
We're running along. Let her talk.
After we got done with our Sunday morning obligations to do room monitor and stuff, I told Sean, I was like, that Shatner line they were pre-selling his tickets all weekend. And that line to buy tickets, not to get his autograph, to buy tickets was immense all weekend long.
Now, we had already purchased our ticket very early Friday. So we were, of course, nobody else was there. So we were like, let's take care of this. Boom, got it. Okay.
We got something
So I
done.
lived in terror all weekend that I was going to lose this damn autograph ticket.
Yeah, because we
That's
got
how
the
I beat
ticket.
getting an early Friday
yeah.
autograph.
So I told Sean, I says, the very first thing we're doing after we get our panel obligations done is getting in that line. Because we only had a small window between our morning obligations and Trektacular to get Shatner's autograph, and I'd be darned if I was going to miss out on getting his autograph. So,
Well, he also had to take a break in the middle of that to go take pictures.
well, and lunch.
And lunch.
And
yeah.
lunch. The man
that
had to
too.
eat. Can you imagine
The
that?
man was at his table 10 minutes the whole day.
So it's like that's where we spent to get because we got up there and we're like, okay, we're here, and they're like, oh, we're closing it for lunch. I'm like, no, we just got here.
You said
Did you guys stay in line?
You called me and
Yes.
said, as soon as you get out of the panel, she says, as soon as I wrap everything up here, I'm going to Shatner. Meet me at Shatner. I was like, okay. That's how you know you're big, when you've become a meeting place. Meet me at Shatner. Where are you going?
Shatner.
We're going to the game room? No, we're going to Shatner.
Everybody knows where Shatner was at that point.
So I go up and I walk up there, and there's no line. There's
We're
like 20 people. And I'm like, yes! And then I realize I can't get into that line. All the ropes are like,
Blocked off.
why can't I get into the line?
It was like a maze with no entrance.
There's no in. I asked somebody, he's going to lunch. No!
I was like, but we got a badge. We went in the line.
The one time the badge didn't work. No, not so much. So
I'm sorry, Shatner's lunch takes precedent over
I
your badge.
know, right?
I agree. I do. Man's entitled to eat. So we kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit, and this just this is now the pre-line for when that line's going to open.
Yeah,
there
we
were already
were-
2 people in that line.
We are number 3.
So we decided, all right. So
that makes more sense now.
we jumped into that line so that we would be number 3 in line for when the line actually got to form. We would, move into the queue. And so...
But we hadn't eaten yet because it was lunchtime. And
Did one of you run off at least and get food?
well, and here's the thing: is people saw people lining up for Shatner, and it filled up quickly. And so we're number 3 in this line, and I'm like, I am not leaving this line. I'm
You
getting
guys should have texted
Shatner's.
me. I would have brought you food.
Well, no, because we're sitting there, and I was like, because I love Shatner, but Picard's my my captain.
Yeah.
But I love Shatner. Don't get me wrong.
Sacrilegious.
Hush.
Hey, I like Cisco.
I'm older than you watching.
Does it mean I have to like Janeway?
Yes.
So
You can like Scott Bakula.
I tell Sean, I
like
says,
Archer,
okay,
like
you
Archer.
stay here. I'll go get us food. And I still had Ari, my artist, was still drawing me a picture that I had to get. And if I didn't get it before Trektacular, I wasn't going to get it.
Oh.
Because
The con officially
con ended,
closed
yeah.
at 5, and we were still going to be
running beyond
in
that.
Trektacular past that. So we're like, Sean's like, we probably better ask the people around us to make sure that we don't get in trouble.
We checked with the guys to the front
front,
of us, the guys to the behind
back.
us. We checked with
The guys in front of you said, I don't care.
the line people and said, she's going to
The
leave
Guardians.
and come back. She's not line jumping. They're like, I don't care. It's like, I'm letting you know anyway. She's going to leave and come back.
She's like, as long as no one doesn't scream out what line jumper or something like that, you're fine. I'm like, we checked with everybody beforehand. So I went and grabbed food, brought it back to Sean, and went and got art from Ari, and came back and got in line. And I think it was another half hour or so before Shatner got done eating that he showed up, and we were number 3.
That makes it worth the wait.
It
Yes.
was. And it was expensive, and it was a wait. But you know what? It's Shatner. And I saw him once at a con in Kansas City that he came to, one of the Dave Scott productions. And he was amazing. He was he gave a great performance, a speech, and it took questions and blah, blah, blah. But he wasn't doing autographs. So I have a Shatner autograph on my wall, but it's a QVC,
I didn't realize that.
I bought this and here's everybody sign it. And again, certificate of authenticity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah. But I don't have a Shatner autograph.
Well, you do now?
So that was why it was, and that's why Mel was so adamant about we're not leaving until you get this.
I didn't realize that.
So
Yeah.
that's why it was.
See, I always figured you did.
No,
Yeah.
I did too.
this is only the second time I've ever seen him.
So we get done with his autograph, and that's kind of a, whew. That was a lot of weight off your shoulders because that's been building for 3 days.
Yeah.
That autograph. So we check in with Kirk because we're scheduled for Trektacular, and it's like, okay, what exactly do our duties entail for Trektacular, and what do you need us to do? And he's like, well, just check in. And Kelly was like, check in about 3, hush, Glenn. Check in about 3:30. And we're like, okay. So we head over there to Trektacular. And
meet up with
wow,
Glenn.
this
And Glenn
room
comes
is...
running over,
Yeah.
and he's got this big. Yeah, there's an expression that we use.
Cat ate the canary grin?
I would have called it a
Poop eating grin?
blank eating
Yeah,
grin. That's pretty much
I was
exactly how
keeping
I
it
would have phrased
PG.
10
See?
minutes prior to that, I was sitting in the game room, and I got a call, and I didn't recognize the number, and I was fiddling with something else, and so I was like, oh, I'll check that in a minute. And I looked, and it didn't have a name, but it had the location where it was from, and I immediately recognized who that was, and I thought, oh, no, that's Kirk. I wonder what he needs. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh. So I called him back really quick, and I said, I'm sorry I didn't catch your phone call. He goes, no, that's all right. So, I got a big favor from you. I said, what's that? And he said, well, you had to kind of sweet-talk your wife into letting you do this day and kind of work it out, since maybe I can do something for you that might make it worth your while and make it worth, you can go home and tell her that you had something big that you had to do. And I said, okay, what's that? He said, well, I need you to be a plant. And I said, okay. And he says, what I'm going to do is I've got a question that I need you to ask of the panel. And he says, you'll ask it, and then it's going to introduce a surprise guest. And I went, all right. And he said, I'll tell you a little more about when you get over there. So I went over there to find out what was going on. Kurt asked me to read a question that then would in turn cue John Delancey, who was not scheduled to be on the Trektacular. And the question was, of all the adversaries and antagonists that the Next Generation cast have encountered, key word. I had to make sure I said that one. But you can counter it for everybody. Who was the most daunting? And at that point, John Delancey makes his presence known and comes up and is supposed to get. Well, it didn't work out that way, but it did. But it didn't. It wasn't. It wasn't as slick. Sean knows more of the behind the scenes, but he's supposed to come up from the back, is what I'm told. You'll hear his voice on the mic. He'll come up back, and then I'm done. So I pitched my question, and Shatner, who's in his 70s and is hard of hearing, because I could hear everybody in that room that was on a mic. But anyway, said,
to be fair to Shatner,
what did he ask me that I said?
He's in his 80s.
80s, yes.
To be fair to Shatner, I had a little trouble hearing Sylvester out on the floor from the stage.
I'm hard of hearing, and I could hear everybody, but I just got frustrated with the fact that. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, so I had to repeat the last word of it, and so I said daunting again because I thought, okay, maybe Delancey didn't get his cue, and then they call kind of him and Hod up on the stage, and I heard Jonathan go, "Just introduce him now," because apparently you'll have to take over because you were on the other side of this.
So we get into the panel room, and what do you need? I think Glenn's just. Well, I suppose we
he
should
comes running over.
Yeah.
He doesn't glide. He comes running.
I don't know why I ran. I kind of bounced over.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Like
bounce.
skipping through a field.
I've got a job.
A special job.
Special job. What is it? I get to be a plant. What does that mean?
What are you doing?
Okay.
Are you going to heckle them?
So he fills me on what's going on. I was like, oh, dude, that's awesome. I'm genuinely jealous at this point. Okay. And we should explain. So the Trektacular, the kind of the whole capstone event that's been leading up to this is the entire next-gen cast, minus Patrick Stewart, on stage together.
Moderated by
William Shatner. So that in and of itself is massively huge.
And then the fact that we didn't even mention that John Delancey just shows up to the con to get autographs and whatnot for people.
So we start the thing, and we're going, and they're bantering. They gave everybody chairs. Not like the con chair.
That was fun.
They get sofas?
They got
those
office
rolling
chairs.
desk chairs.
From the
Guess what happened when they came out in their rolling desk chairs?
they rolled
like
all over.
They all
Balls.
came out and rolled all over the stage.
It was like
and it started with Marina Sirtis. She started it, and everybody else just followed in line.
In her
pretty soon
defense,
they're all just rolling.
in her defense, she was just sitting there and spinning.
Yeah, she was.
And Michael
It was
Dorn
Michael
came
Dorn
out.
that first came in. He just rolled forward.
He rolled forward, and then
It was like they were one-upping each other as they were coming.
And then Gates came out, and she's like, "Well, Marina's spinning. Dorn is going forward. Well, I'm going to do this." So she starts going towards Marina, and then Will Wheaton came out, and Will, being the youngest one of all of them, he's like, "Watch this!"
Yeah.
And it went downhill from
Will
there.
Wheaton was followed by Jonathan Frakes, and you can imagine where it went from there.
Yeah.
So they're all rolling around
LeVar
on
and
stage.
Brent did the back and forth as they did on their stage thing.
That must be their bit.
I mean, they're all rolling around, and the guy who introduced them just kind of looked at him. Jeff. He's like, it's like herding cats. They didn't care. Look at us, and the audience is rolling, and everybody's having a good time.
You know what we totally forgot to mention when the fact was that Jonathan Frakes came out with his little satchel, and he's like, "We have somebody very important and powerful and wealthy and something to announce," and oh, never mind, we'll be back later. And he walks off stage.
Kind of stole
The Godfather of Star Trek.
The Godfather of Star Trek.
Oh, wait.
And then
Never mind. And he walked off.
And walks off stage. Jeff, who's the announcer, he's the one that announced Sean's birthday, and he does all the announcements for PlanetCon. Walks up, walks on Planet Comic Con. He walks on stage, goes, "Thanks for stealing my thunder, Jonathan," and then proceeds to announce the guests and the massive hysteria with the roller derby of chairs ensues, and then
so the panel starts, and they're going on about their thing, and
you forgot to do. They tried to get Shatner to do it, and Shatner's like, "No."
Shatner came out and played with his chair. He pushed the chair across the stage and did this.
He's 80-some years old.
Motion to the chair. He spun the chair in a circle and did this. And anytime he did anything, the crowd went nuts because
He didn't have to.
Well, then
he could have sat down, and they would have went nuts.
He sat down, and they kind of formed this semicircle around on the stage, and people are still
Move in their chairs.
It's a rolly chair in an interview. This is a bad idea, So they're doing all this stuff. So Shatner starts trying to kind of get in on it. Well, he's got slick shoes on. He comments. He says, "I have no traction. I can't go." So then he gave up and launched into it. But
Probably best he didn't fall off and break a hip or something.
know, right?
some of these guys are just zing, like we would if you got in a rolly chair. And I'm thinking, this was our stage. This is a big platform. It's like, oh God, somebody's going over the edge. So they launch into it, and Glenn's getting up there, and intelligent questions. Thank you, Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a bad question in the bunch.
I've
except
got
for
one
maybe
more.
the end.
No. I want to address that when we get to it. So let me talk about that.
But so we good questions going there, and so Glenn's getting closer and closer and closer to the front because he's third in line, so he's already pretty close. But so they're getting there. Kirk comes running over and grabs me. He says, "I have a backstage job for you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." What you need? So I go running back there, and he says, "Okay, so here's the deal. Glenn's the plant. He's going to ask this question. That's going to be John Delancey's cue. You will hear voice of God, cue John Delancey doing his thing. He will be in the back of the room, and then he'll do a little bit, and then he'll come up, and he'll be on stage, and he'll interact with them. And then at some point in time, when that happens, we want to bring a chair because we don't want to let the audience necessarily in on he's part of this until he's actually part of it." So he says, "I'm supposed to bring this chair up on stage for him." I said, "Okay." He says, "But I don't know if I'm going to I might get called away. I might have a responsibility last minute, and I just want to make sure that there's a backup. So can you, I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." So he says, "Okay." So John Delancey's backstage, and they're sitting there, and we're going through the thing, and he's like, "Everything's set ready to go." And Mr. Delancey, the Sean, he's going to bring his chair up. "Do you want any particular place?" He goes, "No, just anywhere's fine. I'll move it wherever." And he's like, "Okay, cool." So we're set. So I'm standing right on the other side of the curtain in the audience line so that I will be able to see John Delancey when you ask your question. And then I'll know to duck back and grab the thing, right? There's no John Delancey in the back. No John Delancey in the back. No John Delancey in the back. And I keep kind of turning around, and he's still sitting over here behind the thing. I'm like, okay. So Kurt goes to do something, and I'm there waiting, and Glenn gets up and asks the question. The one that must never be answered. No, it wasn't that one. And you did great.
Did I? Because
I didn't hear Shatner re-ask you for it, quite honestly.
Oh, you didn't?
Maybe it's because in my mind it was, "Oh, Glenn's on the microphone."
I rehearsed that for the hour and a half that we were in there in my head. And when it came out of my mouth, I thought, I hope I said what I was supposed to say.
I think you did fine.
Okay, good.
Now, Shatner did re-ask.
He did. He just asked what the last thing was.
Yeah.
He asked, "Did you say something?" And I said, "Daunting." I corrected whatever he thought I said, but I don't remember what Shatner thought I said.
I almost said donut, but that one wasn't donut. But yeah.
So which villain is the most daunting? And they all kind of stand there for a minute and go, "Pakleds." I mean, they were not Borg.
Oh, okay.
Not Romulans, not Klingons. low level villains. Making a joke out.
They were stretching because they were all in on it, and because John Delancey's not taking his cue.
So I'm looking. There's no John Delancey. Kirk comes running toward the curtain, and I'm turning to come in. John Delancey's, I presume, agent comes out of the curtains and goes, "Is that our line?" And Kirk's like, "Yes, that's the line."
The agent wrote the line.
I know. So
is that our line?
So we all rush back behind the curtains, and Delancey gets up and decides he grabs his microphone. He's just going to go upstairs on the stage. It's like, okay, it's not as dramatic and cool. So he kind of stands back there and lets them suffer for another minute or so, and then finally gets on. He goes, "I am omnipotent, you know." And the crowd
says, "I'm the voice of God."
I'm the voice of God. And the crowd goes bananas, and he comes out on stage, and it's this big thing. And I give him kind of a minute, and so agent's there, Kirk's there, I'm there. The agent picks up the chair and starts to make a move like he's going up the stage with it. And he crashes into the metal railing that's guarding the stair. Bang! Like this. Kirk grabs the chair from him and says, "I got this." And he turns. And he's at the foot of the stairs. And he turns to me. And he hands me the chair.
This is why Kirk's so awesome.
Flew in again. There he is. Super Kirk. Okay. So I'm going to throw this out there now for any of you listening in headphones. Dr. Phil, if you're driving, you're going to want to pull over.
And Kirk.
Kirk, you should pull over too.
Pull over
Stop your
too.
cars, okay?
We warned him. We would tell him, here it comes.
There will be loud noises at this point. So I take the chair, and I go up the stairs, and I put it on the stage. And I turn around and leave.
It was like, you could see him kind of pause too.
It wasn't that.
I'm here with them.
But you can see this grin on Sean's face.
I will not lie. I had Glenn's grin, but I didn't milk it. I just put the chair down and I did my duty. Then I got downstairs and I turned to Kirk and I said, "Thank you for that." And he just smiled and flew away. And he went to save a kitten in a tree or something. Because for that moment, I was on stage with the entire cast of Star Trek The Next Generation except for Patrick Stewart and John Delancey and William Shatner.
Okay, so now let me finish telling the story while he gets his breath back. He comes.
I think he had an aneurysm.
He did. He comes back to the chair.
Kirk, you made his day.
Yeah.
You made his millennia.
I didn't think it could benefit from Sylvester McCoy. That was everything on Sunday is going to be downhill after that. We got William Shatner's autograph. That's downhill from Sylvester McCoy. No, back up here.
So we obviously know what his backstage task was because we just seen him dart on stage with the chair, and he comes back to the seat. The man's not breathing. He's bright red and shaking like a
Did he
leaf.
start pounding his chest?
I was like, "Are you all right, Eddie?" Yes. Yeah, he squeaked out, "Yes." And I was like, okay, I just need to let him alone so he can get his breath back. And he grabs my leg. He goes, "That was awesome."
In the annals of history, I will go down as a man who put a chair on a stage. I don't care.
We're going long, but suffice it to say, I quite enjoyed the panel. It had its ups and downs as far as uncomfortableness sometimes, I think, with some of the questions. But overall, they were really...
That means they're good questions.
Yeah.
I guess that's coming from a journalist also.
They were good. I thought they were good questions.
Shatner
I thought they were well done questions.
Probably should not have been moderating, and that's all I'll say.
I think there were times where Shatner I thought was a very good moderator.
He kept him on track.
No, he didn't.
Well, I mean...
That was the problem.
There were other times where it kind of degenerated into... Now, I mean, don't get me wrong.
He kept people involved, like Michael Dorn. He would try to get him to talk.
Don't get me wrong.
They made sure to include everybody.
A 15-minute...
Unfortunately, in the position they put them in, they all came off great. He looked rude, and I'm sorry. I hate to be the downer on that, but it just it didn't play well.
Here's the problem: a 15-minute discussion of the J.J. Abrams Star Wars universe from the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation, while geek out fascinating,
was not what people were there for.
It wasn't quite what that was geared for. And for being such a simpatico group, for being such a very integral, they're true family. You get the impression they're always playing back and forth joking around with one another.
And going out to eat.
They just love each other.
They crash each other panels throughout the entire con. Yeah.
And so for all of that, there were a couple of times where Will Wheaton, I got to say a word about him because I didn't get to go to his panel.
Amazingly intelligent. He blows my mind with his amount of input and just wowness that's in his head.
The more time I spend in the presence of Will Wheaton, the more I become 100% convinced I should be worshiping at the altar that is Will Wheaton.
Yes.
Because
he's that far, but yeah, I agree.
That cool.
I am more enamored and impressed by Will Wheaton every day. And here's exactly why. And this is how I want to kind of wrap this up. But all very intelligent questions today, and again, a very good representation of Kansas City and Kansas City fans. You guys all had great questions. There was one gentleman, and he was quite young, probably maybe late teens, early 20s, and he, just from the way he acted as he stood up there, I kind of wonder if he had maybe a mental disability or a mental challenge. That was the impression I got. Not maybe Asperger's, maybe autism, something to that effect. But very enthusiastic kid, and I love that he went up there and he asked his question. But his question it wasn't even a question. He said, how how do you phrase it? Wouldn't it be awesome to cross Star Trek: The Next Generation with Ed, Ed, and Eddie? To which the cast is up there on the stage, and Shatner, most importantly, are like,
What?
What?
What's Ed in it?
what? And
Will Wheaton, yeah.
the audience, geeks that we are, and I know Ed, Ed, and Eddie,
Yeah,
I connect.
Yeah.
Yep.
But geeks that we are, there was still that uncomfortable, like, what are they going to do? They don't, even even those of us in the audience knew that was a strange thing to present to these guys that are probably not going to know.
Here comes this.
But Shatner didn't hear it or understand it, so he had the kid repeat it again. So the kid repeated it again.
So now it's even more uncomfortable because
It
it's
got
been driven
really
home, just in
uncomfortable.
case you didn't know what he said.
And the cast had all but one of the cast had no idea what to do with that question. And Will Wheaton said the first time a kid asked a question, he had this smile on his face and he shook his head. And they didn't know where to go. And Will simply said,
Stepped up to the
just
plate.
as making this kid as important as anybody else in this room for what question he asked, Will says, yeah, I think you could take the animated Star Trek series. Somebody could take the animated Star Trek series, the Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and then like kind of splice them together and put them on YouTube and make Mint. It'd be great. It'd be fantastic. It'd be real popular or something to that effect.
You could cash the check.
Yeah, and go cash
cash
your
the check.
checks. Just as enthusiastically directed, answered that kid's question after this most awkward pause and went right on. And Shatner says, did you answer the question? And he goes, yes, I answered the question. And it was just, nothing impressed me about Will Wheaton more than that. By recognizing and understanding that this guy that was the most important comment or question that this kid was going to make. He's obviously a fan of this show, of all these guys, and that was his point. And Will made it as important as any other question in there. That's what blew me away about Will Wheaton
Didn't miss
today.
a beat, didn't make fun.
Miss a beat.
Nope.
Made that kid, in fact, as soon as he zeroed that kid on him, it took any sort of uncomfort that kid might have felt for nobody else knowing what was going on away, and it lifted it completely off of him. And I applaud him for that. That was so well done.
Will had the correct answer to everything.
Yes,
he had the diplomatic answer to everything. When things started to get a little weird, in some cases, he was the one that brought it back. When people asked the fantastic question about does Star Trek change the world? Do you think Star Trek changed the world? And he immediately jumped on it. I don't have to think about it. I know it did because I've talked to people who became doctors and engineers and astronauts and went out and saved people's lives and did this. And they come back and say it was because of Star Trek. And just this huge uplifting. Man, I'm proud of being a geek right now. Kind of message to it, and everybody just seemed to kind of feed off of that.
He's the best representation for the culture right now. He
really
is the man that is in touch the most.
It sounds like this
with.
bit on top of last year's bit where he was talking about that to an unborn child about being a geek. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The just all the way down to the sheer fact that it happened again this year is that when you go get an autograph from him, if you're a volunteer, it's free, and he thanks you for volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
That spoke mounds to me last year. Just every year he impresses me more and more, and I commend him for that. And
Hearing him
I've gone from a non-fan of Will Wheaton because Wesley Crusher was fine. I wasn't the hater. That's the other thing I think is impressive is that even fandom didn't like Will Crusher. That's why he ended up... Or Wesley. Sorry, Will. No, I had it right.
Wesley.
Yeah,
Wesley. It did not like Wesley Crusher. And he really kind of got the short end of the stick when he was young and on this show. But to still be an ambassador for geeks and fans of that show, after going through that...
This is the difference.
That's what's impressive.
You have somebody like Wesley Crusher, who is kind of an unlikable character on the show because he's a know-it-all and he's the smartest kid in the room. and all of this stuff. But to then turn it around and embrace it and become this ambassador that he has, unlike, say, Matthew Waterhouse, who is stuck in that same unenviable position as Adric, who then doesn't. I mean, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you could try and
I
do the
think
flip. But you understand where I'm coming from. Is that
Absolutely.
they're almost two sides of the same coin, and one path goes this way and one path goes the other way, and they're very, if only that this could have.
I think the difference is Will embraced it and the geekness, where Matthew didn't.
Yeah.
I think that's the main difference. Will is puts himself out there more as himself, as not I'm Wesley. It's no, I'm Will.
Also,
and Big Bang helps a lot too.
Culturally, there's a difference between the UK and the US.
That's true too.
In the sense that we essentially invented fandom as it is.
Yeah.
In the UK, you were a fan of actors or performances, and they had their niche of Doctor Who fans. Here, there's this geek culture fan that I think has bled over into the rest of the world. Don't get me wrong; it still exists. I mean, it exists everywhere now, but it kind of was born here. And Will was already a part of that when he was an actor, and it was easier for him to connect. Whereas Matthew was an actor, and Doctor Who fans were just that one little group of fandom. So it probably was harder for Matthew to go that direction that Will went, because Will was aided by the fact that he was already kind of a geek anyway.
The size of the fandom, I imagine, probably has something to do with it too. I mean, Doctor Who's huge now.
Yes.
At the time that Adric was around, it was
a bit niche.
A bit niche.
And Star Trek,
which is Star Trek,
which pretty much created fandom.
Yeah, really in a way.
Yeah.
So, but there was like I said, it was an amazing panel. It was a lot of fun, and I cannot once again thank Kirk and the staff over at Kansas City Planet Comic Con for allowing us to be a part of it, because it was really cool.
Well, and before we get out of here, I want to say we've heaped a lot of praise on Kirk. Kelly also.
Kelly, his wife.
Oh, yeah.
His wife.
Which,
Mrs. Superman.
Well, yeah, exactly. The reason why I haven't said much is because I had very little contact with Kelly this year. I had a lot of contact with Kelly last year. She helped me out a lot last year. But she was just as much above and beyond amazing, and they both do a fantastic job running that volunteer program and getting things in place and getting what they do. So, Kelly, pat on the back to you as well. We don't mean to just take the focus on Kirk. It's that's who we we're mostly in contact with this year, but Kelly is as much a driving force behind why that volunteer program works and how it works so well, and why it's at least comes off seamlessly.
And so, she commented that several people came up to her, just convention goers, who commented on, "Wow, you guys are doing it. You make everything look smooth." And of course, she's back there pulling her hair out. Right. We've lost Margot Kidder and different things like that. But it's just and that's what I told her. It was like, the fact that they think it's running 100% smooth means that you could not be doing your job any better.
That's right.
I mean, that's the key, is that people are having a good time.
I had a guy come up and thank me for volunteering while I was doing the Froggy booth.
Who did?
Just the dude.
Oh, great.
The dude was there?
A dude.
Oh, a dude.
A dude.
Not the dude.
Not the dude.
Not
the
the
one who
dude. A dude.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right, well, let's move this along and find out what's coming on next week on the schedule.
Well, next week on the schedule, we have a special show that we're going to put together for you. And we hope it'll be special. We hope it'll come together, and we hope it'll be
will
for
be
you.
special if it comes together.
If nothing else, it'll be a show.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to get you guys started.
Way to set the bar low. I was going to go for here, but you kind of said, "Nah, let's be realistic."
Low expectations. That way we wow them.
We're jokingly calling it the Fan Show 2, where we're hoping to have some.
Why are we jokingly calling it? Isn't it Fan Show 2?
The Fan Show 2. This time it's personal.
Ah, okay.
I don't know.
Let's not steal Elihu's line.
Elihu.
The Fan Show 2 Electric Boogaloo. We've already done that.
That's true.
We have to come up
need to come up with a different.
The Fan Show 2 Fan Showier.
Fan Show 2, the sequel.
I like that one. Spaceballs.
Airplane.
Fan Show 2.5.
Maybe
3 3/4.
Depending on how things go.
So we'll be putting together this fan show. We hope to have some interviews from other people within the Who family that were at Planet Comic Con, and hopefully surprise you with that. And then we'd like to do some sort of, we're still kind of feeling out exactly how we're going to structure it, but we'll have some guest stars. Some special guests. Not guest stars, not stars, but guests.
Special guests.
Special guests. I don't want to just make them guests. They are special guests. But So we'll have those as well. Remember that...
You sound like you were trailing off like you were done. I thought, wait, you got more on the schedule. I saw it. I saw it post.
that was it. We're doing The Mutants, the first 3 parts with John Pertwee next week for Friday Night Who, which, as far as I know, we're all going to be at, right? There's nothing coming up that would prevent anybody from no basketball games, no cons, no...
Not that I'm aware of.
We'll actually be a part of this one. Awesome.
Wait.
Oh, wait a minute.
We start at midnight. We'll be all right. Caitlin, her show opens this Friday. So.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll break a leg if I don't, because I probably won't see it.
We'll pass it along.
So the first 3 parts of The Mutants with John Pertwee this week, then the last 3 parts of The Mutants the following week, followed by a review of The Mutants and ebook 3, The Spear of Destiny. So you can start reading that now.
I'm excited.
Yes.
All right. If there's not anything else, then that's it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Mel.
You pointed. You
Going around the table the right direction.
should lean in a little. I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
I was on stage with the entire cast of Star Trek The Next Generation, minus Patrick Stewart and John Delancey and William Shatner.
Be seeing you.
Wow.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.